Happy Thursday, everybody. Welcome to the Sean O'Connell Show once again. Happy to have you with us. We're going to try to make it a fun one today. Stanley Cup Final Game 5 is tonight at 6 right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Vegas, Carolina, tied up 2-2. Gordy Chiesa is going to be in studio starting in half an hour, going all the way to 12:30. Jay Nolly with some World Cup talk brought to you by Beer Bar. The World Cup begins today. Mexico versus South Africa. That'll start during our show at 1 p.m. on Fox. Tomorrow, U.S. men's national team versus Paraguay at SoFi Stadium. That is an evening game. 1:30 on the show today, Evan Cohen to talk, well, a little bit of everything. Brendan Sorsby, the NBA Finals, the upcoming draft, of course, the World Cup, which, like the Olympics, we all become experts on for a brief and blessed period of a few weeks. And we'll get to all that today, but holy cow. Last night's NBA Finals game at MSG, where we had an opportunity to see true historic achievements. It looked for most of that game, till about 6.5 minutes left in that game, like the San Antonio Spurs were going to run away with it, and for the first time in NBA Finals history, the first 4 games of a final series would be won by the road team. At one point, the Spurs were up 29. And we found out a lot about both teams in the largest comeback in NBA Finals history. But the thing that stuck out to me most was that, you know, you attach to major market teams this sort of front runner mentality. You attach to this major market team like, oh, yeah, 29 down. They're just going to fold up the tents and go home. At the end of the day, the New York Knicks showed an incredible amount of fight, an incredible amount of self-belief, incredible team chemistry, and the San Antonio Spurs, as amazing as they are, obviously they're great if they made it this far. As incredible as Victor Wembanyama is and his supporting cast, they're going to be the bane of NBA existence for many a franchise for the next decade. But we found out last night what they are not yet. They are not yet a veteran team that makes the right decisions. They are not yet a team that is coached with a little bit of veteran aplomb in those scenarios where, oh, my 27-point lead, my 29-point lead, my 27-point lead, my 20-point lead, my 14-point lead. Let's get a better shot here. Let's touch the paint for once. Let's not shoot 7 3-pointers in a row. Let's not shoot 8 3-pointers in a row. Let's chew up a little bit more shot clock here. Let's play this game like we are nursing a double-digit lead. There was a lot of time spent by the San Antonio Spurs kind of looking wide-eyed and scared. What they are not yet is a team full of guys who know what to do when the wheels start to fall off. Now, I'm prone to overreaction and being the prisoner of the moment, and obviously this is a great team. But we found out that what Victor Wembanyama is not yet, we have found this out several times in this series, what he is not yet is a clutch performer. He's an incredible player. He's one of the most skilled guys, one of the most skilled big men we will ever see. He is not yet ice in the veins, stone cold killer clutch in scenarios where you absolutely need him. He's not that yet. And that's not to say he's not going to be immediately after this season. Maybe this will be the series that teaches him the importance. I mean, Victor Wembanyama missed 2 free throws down the stretch. When's the last time you saw Victor Wembanyama miss 2 free throws?
Not in the same trip, right? Like, seen 1 out of 2 trips in this series a few times. It seemed uncharacteristic because the guy's been lights out from the line all playoffs leading up to the series, but not like that, especially in that moment. I'll say this too, OC. I agree with you, the point that you're making. When he threw the ball out of bounds in Game 2, inexplicably with the chance for them to either win the game or send it to overtime, that was the moment where I went, oh, this NBA Finals pressure, they're not ready for this yet. That's the first time in these postseason that they looked like a young team who's not ready for the pressure yet, and that says a lot about it's how good they are that it took to the NBA Finals.
Well, it also says a lot about the New York Knicks being a team that is made up of players who've kind of earned this. They've been through some of these things. They've made those mistakes earlier in their careers, and this San Antonio team is doing it on the biggest stage. I mean, look, 1.2 seconds left, that final possession for the Spurs. It's not an ideal amount of time. You're not going to get a clean shot. You're not going to get the best look possible, but you got to at least get something up.
It was a good play.
Little lob pass and mishandled and good defense, and then you don't even get a shot up. You know what I mean? And I don't know how good the play was. Like if you're Mitch Johnson and you have one of the three most capable elevators in the league, I think you have to roll him to the basket and try to go for some kind of a tip it. Like, and look, I am not the basketball expert that Mitch Johnson is, but everything that you can say about this young Spurs team and maybe their, I don't want to say inability, but their inexperience in those pressure-packed situations when the wheels are falling off, everything that the players are guilty of, the coach too. And again, I think he's great. I think he's going to be a championship-winning coach sooner than later in the NBA. He's probably going to win multiple rings because of the roster that he's got and how young they are. But he is not yet that guy that when the camera pans to him as New York takes its first lead of the game with a minute left, he's not the guy that you see on camera, stone-faced, I know exactly what to do. Give me that whiteboard. We're going to a TV timeout here. I want to talk to my guys. He's wide-eyed also. He's looking around. The thunderous applause of the Garden is weighing on him the same way it is that team. And look, I don't expect anything different from a team of this relative youth. I mean, Stephon Castle at 21 years of age was the guy, I think, that showed the most poise down the stretch. De'Aaron Fox, what are you doing shooting the ball with 10 seconds left? Why aren't you holding on? Why aren't you making the New York Knicks foul you?
He thought he had a wide-open layup, but he forgot that OG Anunoby, who is the Finals MVP. Like, the Knicks pull this out, whether they get blown out on Saturday, Spurs extend the series, they have to win at home. They have to win at home in Game 6, or they close it out in San Antonio. It doesn't matter. OG Anunoby is the Finals MVP. That block's going to get lost in everything because of his tip-in winner, but that sealed the game as much as the tip-in winner did.
What about the wide-open three-pointer in the corner?
10 of 15 for the game, by the way.
What about
33
OG
points.
Anunoby hitting a wide-open three to make it, a 4-point lead for San Antonio? And he was the guy that helped whittle away. He's
been awesome every game, too.
And his reaction to it was like, yeah, man, we got to do it again. Let's go. Like, they have the right mindset. And I know the Spurs do also, but we just learned some things in that game last night that, you cannot, there's no substitute for experience. There is no substitute for time on the court or for having been in a scenario before. And that's not just in sports, but it's especially prevalent in sports. Right? If your kid falls down the stairs for the first time ever, you panic about it, and your reaction to it is not as good as the second time.
Yeah, because they didn't die the first time. You're like, okay, for me, it's he can handle that. Okay,
well, and you don't want to make it a regular thing. So maybe that's the wrong example.
Yeah, but
like, the first time you get in an argument with your spouse and it feels like the sky is falling, and you say things you don't mean, and he or she says things they don't mean, right? Then the next time you argue, because you're going to have multiple, right? The next time you're probably going to be a little bit more measured, a little bit more realistic, and when it's all said and done, you're probably not panicking about it like, You know, there's just something to having been there before. And I know it's a big ask, and I'm being overly reductive here because this Knicks roster is also made up of guys who have not been in that exact scenario before. You want to know why they haven't been in that exact scenario before? Because no NBA player has ever done what we saw done last night. There's never been a 30-point comeback for an NBA Finals victory. It has not happened. In the thousands upon thousands upon thousands of NBA games, you don't see 30-point comebacks that often. It's even more rare when it's in the playoffs, and it is the rarest of rare when it happens in an NBA Finals game. And then you throw on top of that it happened to be a Knicks game at Madison Square Garden. And that place, we've been overly obsessing about how much people are paying to get into that building for Game 4, for Game 3. Whatever you paid last night, it was worth it. Whatever your ticket cost you last night, it was worth it to be there in that building. That is going to go down, especially for Knicks fans, but for sports fans in general, for the casual watcher of NBA basketball, that is going to go down as one of the most memorable comebacks in sports history. We are not going to forget about that one anytime soon. That one is going to be a trivia answer for the next several decades. And if you were in the building for that, that's what live sports and attendance in the building at live sports can do for you that nothing else can replicate. We had a great time watching it on our televisions at home, right? Part of what you loved about watching it last night at home was seeing the reactions. And broadcast television sports right now are better than they've ever been. They do such a good job with the storytelling. The cameramen know where to put the camera, which celebrity reaction is the best one. I'm watching with my 7-year-old daughter, and she's like, Taylor Swift is there?
And she's freaking out about the Knicks being awesome? Yeah.
And I'm like, what team are you rooting for? Knowing exactly what her answer was going to be. She's rooting for the team that Taylor Swift is rooting for, right?
Yeah.
And, like, just this whole theater, the soap opera of all of it, and the New York Knicks whittling away. Plenty of work left to be done by the time you get into that fourth quarter, chipping and hacking away. And somehow, and I cannot wait to talk to Gordy Chiesa about this. He's in studio with us today. I cannot wait to talk about, like, I don't know how it happens for the San Antonio Spurs. If someone comes back from 9 points down, that can take a grand total of 12 seconds, right? This was a slow bleed. This was minutes and minutes of bad basketball, of poor decision-making, of unfortunate bounces for the San Antonio Spurs that they weren't able to interrupt. They weren't able to get the momentum back. And then the most experienced guy on your team makes one of the more unforgivable gaffes by not letting the clock milk out. There was just a lot that went wrong here for the San Antonio Spurs. They're not out of it. The series is not over, right? Because as much as we can be critical of what happened last night, we have to remember that they battled their way all the way to here. They're well ahead of schedule on what we think they should be as a franchise. Oh, and by the way, they're going to go back to San Antonio, and you're going to have a top 5 player, top 3 player in the world looking to prove everyone wrong about the mistakes he made in Game 2 and Game 4, right? You're going to be looking at De'Aaron Fox, who wants to get a bad taste out of his mouth. You're going to be looking at Stephon Castle, who's like, man, if I could have done this or that just a little bit differently. Dylan Harper is going to be like, man, if I just would have had a little bit more experience, a little bit more forethought, and I just would have moved myself 2.5 feet to my left in the lane, I'm almost accidentally boxing out OG Anunoby, and he doesn't get that tip in.
Just old school. Gordy knows this. He's taught it this way. Turn and find someone and put your body on him. That's Dan Patrick was lamenting how that seems to be out of the game now at the NBA level, and I don't know that it's completely out of the game, but there's certain moments where you're like,
Now, look.
When did they stop turning and finding a guy?
I'll say
That's what
this.
happened last night.
When it is a seemingly final shot or potential final shot of the game, which Brunson was right on kind of that border when he took that long three, right? Because there were 2 seconds on the clock, a second 0.7 on the clock when he throws that thing up. And depending on if it goes in or, you know, the carom off the backboard, that might be the end of the game.
Could be, yeah.
So you could be caught ball watching there. Everyone, even really experienced players, can be caught ball watching there. But this is something that I don't think the audience in the Garden probably had the benefit of. But there was an incredible angle, the camera that's on top of the shot clock, right? Back of the rim, or excuse me, on top of the backboard shot clock, that camera that's looking down and giving us the angle of OG Anunoby just skying in and tipping that ball in. What I was focused on there was young Dylan Harper, who, again, incredible player, is going to have a wonderful career. He was watching the ball bouncing off, and he was in awe. You can see the expression on his face. He's talking to himself in his mind. He's going, oh my. And then you watch the surprise register on his face because he's going up for the rebound, right? And he's up there. He's elevating. His right hand, I think it was his right hand is 11 and a half feet off the ground, ready to collect this ball as it's coming down. And then you see the surprise on his face register as OG Anunoby comes hustling past him and gets to the ball before he does. It's a game of inches. OG's hand touches the ball instead of Dylan Harper's hand touching the ball because Dylan Harper was ball watching. And I'm not blaming anything on him. I think in every scenario, most people are doing exactly that. And there was also, can't remember which Knicks player was. There was also someone out kind of on the far right elbow.
I think it was Towns. Fox had gone off of Anunoby, went to Towns to box him out.
That was the other side.
Or the other side, okay.
It was the other side. And there
Hart,
were
somebody
two,
like that.
Yeah, I think it might have been Hart. There's two Spurs over there, kind of like you're sort of in between.
That's right. He was almost like the third guy on that side, Dylan Harper, yeah.
But and so I'm not trying to blame Dylan Harper for anything, but it's just this like he doesn't get his body into the perfect position in the lane, and OG Anunoby comes past him. You see this in football all the time, where a ball is underthrown. It was the equivalent of that. A ball is underthrown, and either the defensive back who feels like he's got the best beat on it, or more often the wide receiver who's like, okay, I'm going to wait for this thing to fall into my chest. I'm going to wait for this thing to fall into my breadbasket. And then you see the super slow motion replay where they're waiting on the ball. They're anticipating, all right, here it comes, here it comes, here it comes. And then somebody goes and high points it in front of them. Somebody realizes, I'm going to attack this ball. I'm going to catch it out of the air. I'm going to hustle for this thing. And the guy who's on the ground waiting for it, it's never coming to him. That was the same thing that happened to Dylan Harper.
A good comparison.
Because OG Anunoby just hustled a little bit more, because OG Anunoby just had a little bit better read, because OG Anunoby at this point in his career is a little bit better, has a little bit more experience. It is a guy that, I mean, he was like, yeah, Brunson got a really good look, but I was doing what I do. I was crashing the boards. He was being ready for anything. He was not ball watching. He was not holding his breath like the rest of the Garden was to see if that shot was going to go in. He was proactively attacking just in case, and that just in case turned into one of the most legendary putbacks we have ever seen in NBA basketball. What a game, what a night, what an incredible performance by the New York Knicks. What an epic and just sickening collapse by the San Antonio Spurs. You've seen a trillion games in your favorite sport from your favorite team, where even the very, very best players, you know that they're sitting in a film room somewhere today, and they were riding on a plane late last night, and they woke up and they got in a car and they were just like, man, I wish I could have that moment back. De'Aaron Fox is having nightmares about putting that shot up when he didn't need to. Victor Wembanyama is waking up in a cold sweat thinking about missing 2 free throws in the same trip to the line with the game on the line. The difference between 3 points and 1 point as a margin. I mean, high drama, incredible theater, and the New York Knicks now on the precipice, on the brink of delivering a championship to a fan base that has been thirsty and starved. And it is, I mean, I think I am not the average celebrity worshiper. I enjoy pop culture and I enjoy comedy and I enjoy all the things that these celebrities give us. I don't put them on pedestals very often, but watching, it's like one camera angle, there's Jerry Seinfeld, there's Larry David, there's Taylor Swift with the lady from
Herb Street was courtside.
Yeah,
did you see that?
There's John Calipari was there in a suit. And you're just like, oh my gosh. They're just showing everyone in the crowd. Like Adam Sandler was on the second row with his wife.
He was behind the basket, I think, where the tip-in happened, or maybe it was the other basket. He was behind one of the baskets, and you could see him react to all the big plays too. That was fun. Ernie Johnson in the pregame getting a picture with Taylor Swift and being like, my daughter and granddaughter love me right now because it's so great. And of course it's a game when arguably the most famous person in the world, Taylor Swift, shows up, that this happens too. Like it's after and it's the game that the president is not at too, that this happens. Just incredible comeback. I'll say this. I think something that screwed the Spurs that is not being, I don't know that it's getting enough run this morning as we react to it, OC, national shows and so far here. Stephon Castle was in foul trouble all game. And it didn't feel like it mattered because the Spurs were up big all game, right? But as we talk about, why did they just jack up threes all the time? Why didn't they keep getting into the paint? Stephon Castle is the guy for the Spurs that, if you watch closely, he's the guy that does that for them. And missing him for a lot of that second half, he got his 4th foul pretty early in the third quarter, got his 5th foul pretty early in the fourth quarter. He only had, I think, 11 points. He's the guy that gets to the line.
He finished with 13.
Or 13.
Not an efficient game for him. Yeah. And it's a point well made. He only played 26 minutes in this game.
I think they missed his presence, and I think that's a lot of the reason why we saw some puzzling offensive execution and puzzling choices.
And you had 32 minutes of pretty good basketball from Dylan Harper. I mean, he played a really good game. But at the end of the day, there was another thing that this was Chris Webber was on Rich Eisen, and he was talking about this. We learned what the Spurs are not quite yet in some of those moments last night. And one of the things that he pointed out that I couldn't articulate it as well as he did, but you noticed it down the stretch. Victor Wembanyama is right now the alpha dog on the Spurs, but he's too good of a teammate almost. He's still as collaborative as you can ask for.
Not nasty enough.
He didn't do the thing that Weber was talking about. If Kobe had been in that situation, if Shaq had been in that situation, if Michael Jordan had been in that situation, and there's probably other players in the league. LeBron.
I need the ball kind of thing. LeBron
gets criticism for this also, right? Where LeBron will be deferential and he'll usually, though, when LeBron is criticized for not taking the shot, it's because he draws 3 defenders and then he passes off to someone who has the open shot.
Yeah, it's different.
But what Chris Webber was saying is that, like, I was watching, I was on the court. He's talking about his Sacramento days. I'm on the court, and we're staging a comeback, and Shaquille O'Neal says to his teammates, I need the ball these next 3 possessions. And you don't have to get a timeout. Right? Mitch Johnson doesn't have to do this. Victor Wembanyama or Michael Jordan or LeBron James or Kobe Bryant or whomever, some guys are in a position in this league where they can tell anybody They can tell someone more experienced than them. They can tell the veteran on the team. They can tell the point guard, whoever that is, you give me the ball this next trip down the floor, no matter what. The ball has to come to me. And if you're the size of Victor Wembanyama, it's not as big of an ask to tell whoever's handling the ball, whoever's the ball-dominant guy, who's ever bringing it up the floor, give me the ball. And there's going to be theses written. Is that the theses? Theses? What's the 877-353-0700?
Not to be confused with a different word that starts with an F.
Yeah. Is it theses or is it theses? Thesi?
I think it's theses, but maybe someone who knows better than us.
It sounds like a word. There's going to be dissertations written.
Plural thesis.
On the choice to initiate an offense through a 7'5" player at the 3-point line way too often.
Yeah. And
I know he's lean, and I know that Karl Anthony Towns and Mitch Robinson and everyone else that was getting, they're putting bodies on him and stuff. But the decision to start that offensive engine so far away from the basket when you're up 27, when you're up 24, when you're up 18, when you're up 15 is probably not going to be something that is universally accepted around the league. It's probably not going to be something that the Spurs look back on and say, yeah, that was the right decision for us to make continually over and over and over. So I think that's something that, again, next year you don't see from Victor Wembanyama if a situation like this arises. I think that he's going to learn because we know we've shown with him, we've seen already in his first 3 years in the league, he's very good at absorbing, is improving at all these things. I think that he might tell, you don't get the teammate chirpiness back and forth from the San Antonio Spurs right now, pretty much ever. That might be something that group actually needs in a scenario like this. In like a, hey, if you don't give me the ball, I'm going to kick your ass. It needs to be mine.
The Buddhist Zen stuff, that I'm going to throw that away if you don't give me the ball right now.
Hey, De'Aaron Fox, we love you. You have to give me the ball there. Yeah. The ball has to touch my hands here.
You were clutch player of the year 5 years ago. You're not clutch player of the year anymore, De'Aaron Fox.
I know you're the most veteran guy. I'm the best player. It has to come to me. And maybe that's something that's not really part of Victor Wembanyama's personality right now. For him to be a multiple-time champion and a multiple-time MVP like we know he is destined to be, that has to become part of his lexicon, I think. That's got to be in the toolbox. It's got to be something where you're not Mr. Popularity. He's not already with his opponents, which I love about him. You don't have to be that with your teammates all the time either. How many times did Karl Malone upset people in the locker room with him? How many times was Karl Malone telling guys on the floor, or even John Stockton, tell guys on the floor, get out of my way. Don't do that ever again.
Gordy would know. Gordy would know. We're going to talk to in a second. I'll say this too, OC. You mentioned Chris Webber. I think he's the appropriate guy to talk about a team collapsing because he's a guy who was never ready for the moment in his career, Michigan or otherwise. So he was perfect to talk about Victor Wembanyama and the Spurs kind of shrinking in the big moment.
The social media analysts, they always have the right knife to twist, right? And I saw that. That is the worst. There was a comparison. De'Aaron Fox is with the worst late game decision since Chris Webber trying to call a timeout. It's like, that's 30 years ago, man. Let it lie. Leave it alone.
It's 35 years ago coming up here. Yeah. So good get by Rich Eisen to get perfect guy to get on to talk about what the Spurs did last night. I kid.
All right. I'm going to, while we're in the break, I'm going to look up what's the correct form of the plural thesis. And then we're also going to pick Gordy Chiesa's brain about one of the most epic and incredible comebacks we have seen in any sport ever happening last night. And we all watched it in awe. It's the Sean O'Connell Show, just getting started on a Thursday. ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in our good friend Gordy Chiesa, resident NBA guru, New Yorker, and a man who's watched plenty of New York Knicks basketball, plenty of NBA basketball, but even even he has never seen something like we saw last night in an NBA Finals game. The largest comeback in NBA Finals history, completed by the New York Knicks as they go up 3-1 over the San Antonio Spurs in this NBA Finals series. Gordy, welcome. How are you, sir?
I am doing well, and last night's game, for all the basketball fans and just generally speaking, any fan of sports, it was an epic one for the ages of how the Knicks came back in that game or how the Spurs collapsed. It was both. And that made it so interesting, the dynamics of it. I'll quote right now, Sean, A Tale of Two Cities by Charles Dickens. For the Spurs, it was the best of times in the first half. It was the worst of times in the second half.
For sure.
And, Sean, you and I, we both love Charles Dickens.
Sure. Yes. Classic literature is a great thing. All right, Gordy. So I want to, just kind of let you give us your evaluations of how everything happened. I just spent 25 minutes ranting about my thoughts on it, and you have obviously a much better perspective, a much more informed eye on all these things. So what happened? How did this happen?
Well, what happened was that simply is that at halftime, the Spurs were making all these incredible shots in the first half. They relied on the three-point shooting, and it was going in. So that's the positive for the Spurs. The Knickerbockers couldn't make a shot. They fouled way too much in the first half, and they were letting the Spurs affect them mentally by their physicality. And in the second half, it was the direct opposite, where at halftime, they regrouped mentally. It wasn't anything they did differently, but mentally, the Knickerbockers, they got themselves ready mentally to play. And then they just kept on chipping away at it. The Knicks outscored the Spurs 58-30 in the second half. And it wasn't one thing, it was everything. How they just kept on playing better defense, shot selection to the advantageous of it. And what the Spurs did incorrectly, they were arrogant. They kept on shooting three-point shots, and there wasn't going in. In the second half, the Spurs shot 3 for 17 from threes. But worse than that, it's how they did it, where they just came down. They didn't run any offense at all. They just decided to, whoever had the ball, to go one-on-one and shoot an ill-advised shot. And it was very much the three-point component of it, or they were missing at the rim. And that's what happened during the game, that the switch was turned on and off by the Spurs, and Knicks took advantage of it. It was absolutely a great comeback by the Knicks, and it was led by Jalen Brunson's brilliance, how he kept on driving the ball to the basket and making plays, and vastly underrated. OG Anunoby had a tremendous all-around game. He was making his corner threes off rhythm, and just generally speaking, that the Knickerbockers were making better choices of shots, and their defense picked up dramatically. And that's what happened.
So what do you do when you're up 29 and then you start taking some ill-advised threes, right? And you're missing them. You shoot 7 threes in a row, up 20-plus points or something like that.
Yes.
And you're not making them. You're not extending your lead with these things. But you're still, at that point, you're still holding on to a pretty comfortable lead. From a coaching perspective, from a bench perspective, maybe from a player leadership perspective, what is the correct reaction to it? Obviously, we have the benefit of hindsight now to say, oh, you can't allow that stretch to continue. You got to call a timeout. You got to take advantage of a TV timeout and say, hey, I need an inside shot. I need a mid-range shot. Don't take another three for a couple more possessions. But it's not that simple. So what do you do? Mitch Johnson is a young coach. He's a great coach, but he's a young coach. He's got a young team that keeps making this mistake as the lead gets whittled away. What is the correct way to interrupt that momentum for the Knicks?
As a group, drive the ball into the paint. In other words, that ball should touch the paint. So whether it's either direct post up inside or mid post up or penetrating, what you do is that you slow the game down. When the other team is accelerating by scoring momentum, the opposite side should be you slow the game down, that you play half-court defense, meaning the Spurs, and when you come down the floor, you get everybody organized, and you run some sort of either set play or a concept game. So it could be some sort of screening action besides pick and roll. Remember now, pick and roll or ball screen offense shouldn't be your only offense. It's part of an offense. What they want to do, a dribble handoff action. What you want to do is what? Try to get the best shot available. So in other words, during that game, there was very little white screening action, we call it, where a good shooter comes off a screen looking for what? A catch-and-shoot jump shot or a catch-and-go drive. It was all what? Just passing the ball around perimeter, and everybody took it at any choice. They took a three-point shot. And really, basically, it was the arrogance of the Spurs that helped the Knicks come alive in that game. In other words, where they kept on just playing perimeter. There was no inside game. It was only perimeter. Every once in a while, Wembanyama would roll to the basket, and there was a mismatch as far as airborne, and he was able to either catch a lob or get fouled in a lob pass. But generally speaking, it was the Spurs played right into Knickerbocker's hands. Remember, at the start of the fourth quarter, the Spurs were up 15 points. Up 15.
Yeah.
It was up 15. So it wasn't like – so it was more the Spurs allowed the Knicks to come back in that game really by simply shot selection. So shot selection in the second half was the storyline for the Spurs. The Knicks storyline was what? Chip away at it, make shots out of team rhythm, and just be more physical without dramatically fouling.
Josh Hart had a missed. I thought it was going to be a dunk attempt. Instead, he tries to lay it in. He misses it.
Yeah, right in between, like dunking or laying it up.
Yeah, I think he was anticipating contact from the trailing defender, and so he wasn't focused on the shot. But how did you view that play?
Yeah, same thing also. Right, exactly, right. Is that he in between has to De'Aaron Fox, and he came down. What he should have done was what? Run the clock out. Run it out. Don't take that lay because it was a challenging shot. What you want to do is maybe attack the paint and then make we call it a whiteout dribble, where you go into the painted area. Do not take the shot because at that time, the clock is on your side versus another basket. And what he did, he tried to what? Make a basket, and he missed it. And that absolutely gave one more shot at it. I mean, as far as the Knickerbockers to come down on it. At that time, go into the paint, bring it back out, make them foul you.
At that point, you have about 10 seconds left in the game.
Yes.
He decides immediately to get possession of that ball, try to lay it up to give them a 3-point lead. He explained after the game that was his thought process. That's what he was trying to do. But, I mean, depending on how quick-thinking the Knicks are in that situation and how good your evasive dribbling is, you could chew up another 3-4 seconds off the clock potentially if you do what you just instructed. If you do, you collect that ball, you're in the paint now, you dribble that thing all the way. You could go all the way out to half court, run away from him.
Well, very much.
And then he doesn't. So the Knicks get the next possession, and that is where the long Brunson 3 turned into the OG Anunoby tip-in.
Correct. Absolutely. And also, next part about that was when they called timeout the Knickerbockers. All right. So the Spurs did the right thing, that Jalen Brunson is a tremendous clutch player. This year, and as far as regular season, the clutch player went to Shai Alexander. The year before, 2025, it was Jalen Brunson. All right, so now, just think about the dynamics right now. And this is not like a hindsight after the fact. I was talking about this to myself during the game, during the last play of the game, defensively, was that you do not waste Victor Wembanyama on outsides. In other words, they had a shadow trap on Jalen Brunson. So the ball came in, and it was being guarded by De'Aaron Fox, meaning Brunson. And Victor, who wasn't guarding the inbound passer, he went to not double team, we call it shadow trap, and he switched on it, and now he was the primary defender on Brunson's long missed high arcing 3. Fox, who was guarding initially Jalen Brunson, once they made that, we call it peel out, where now it's the Victor guarding it, is that he should have got back into play and came into the painted area and put a body on the inbound passer, which was OG Anunoby. Anunoby made a great play. He went right, perfect timing, free run to the basket, and he made an unbelievable tip shot that will go down as far as one of the most important tip shots in the history of the game, as far as the magnitude of it. Yeah, that Dylan Harper was everyone was watching the ball. I'm saying is that Victor should be in the lane right now. Should have been Victor in the lane, because you know what happened. That would never happen right now if Rambian was in the lane.
For sure, he just takes up too much range in the you either have to foul going through him.
That's exactly right. And so the Spurs' mistake was, if you want to shadow, great. Shadow trap. It wasn't even a trap. It was more of a double team. Don't switch on. Again, keep small on small and keep big on big in the lane. I'm simplifying it, but that's what happened. And OG Anunoby, who's a tremendous two-way player, he flew in there with a free run, perfect timing. The world was perfect, and he was able to get that tip on it right now. And that's what absolutely critical on it. And that last part of it, even 1 point, so now the Spurs call timeout with 1.2 seconds. Castle got a good look, and the defense got a tip ball on it, and that helped tremendously.
All right.
It was a perfect world for the Knickerbockers, and it was devastating. It was an all-time collapse by the Spurs, and now they go back to Game 5 on Saturday night. We're going to see what the Spurs are made out of.
All right, we're going to stay on clock here. We'll take a break. Gordy's with us for the next 45 minutes or so. We're going to do our best to get as much information as we can out of him evaluating this incredible game last night, and more importantly, especially for the Spurs, where the series goes from here. Gordy Chiesa brought to you by Aladdin Industries, your Utah Velux dealer. Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Gordy Chiesa here in studio with us, reacting to an epic comeback by the New York Knicks to take Game 4 at the Garden. They are up 3-1 in the series. You can listen to Game 5 right here on your home of the NBA Finals, ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. That game will be on Saturday at 5:30 p.m.
And Sean, if you played the song, the intro right now was Crazy by Gnarls Barkley. And the reason why I selected that, James and I, because last night was crazy.
It was absolutely crazy.
And Sean, I said to I'm a New Yorker, so I have so many bizarre Knick fans text me during the game. It was outrageous. I spent more time trying to look at my text than watching the game. And it's part of it, not totally, but part of it. All right. And so I said after the game, though, I said, does anybody we know owns a pizza joint by the Garden? Because right now, after that love fest where the Knick fans left the place, that around the Garden, we'll say that just a 2-block radius, that those pizza joints and restaurants and bars made $100,000 in profit in the first hour.
No doubt.
Sean, $100,000 in profit. Now, this is unscientific by yours truly, but that's what I'm saying. The pizza joint, they couldn't make enough pizza for the fans leaving.
I can't imagine the bedlam on they had the watch party out on the plaza. Madison Square, that part of Manhattan is absolutely bananas with foot traffic and all that stuff, no matter what. And I'm thinking of my own experiences there. The New Yorker Hotel, right kitty corner,
right across the street.
Right across the street.
Right across the street.
The TikTok diner down there in the lobby.
Absolutely.
Open 24 hours, just a milkshake to celebrate. I mean, come on. It must have been incredible right there for all the New Yorkers and not so much for any San Antonio fan. Also not great for Victor Wembanyama. He got an egg thrown at him as he was walking back into the hotel. Come on, New Yorkers. You got your win. You got the best comeback in NBA Finals history. You don't have to rub it in with throwing eggs. Series is far from over. And there are people, by the way, flying from New York to San Antonio for Saturday's game because they think that's where they're going to close it out. I think that we're going to get a San Antonio win in Game 5, but we'll get to more of that. I want to focus on, so OG Anunoby being given a ton of credit for what he did in that entire game. The epic tip-in on a Jalen Brunson miss to give the Knicks the lead with 1.2 seconds. And then San Antonio's got an inbound play. They've got 1.2 seconds. Now, it's not exactly enough time to get the perfect shot or the exact set that you're looking for, Gordy. But what ended up happening was kind of a lobbed inbound that was never truly handled, never truly possessed, and then they ran out of time. What were your thoughts on that inbound play in that final sequence for San Antonio? Because 1.2 seconds is enough time to get a shot to win.
Oh, very much, yeah. With 1.2 seconds, the decision is you have to you can catch it and gather yourself. So Stephon Castle was the guy, and he's rugged. No, they ran a screening action. The Knicks, to their credit, they kept big on big. You know, they didn't switch with Wemby, so they kept Carlton Towns. Mitchell Robinson on Wemby, and so Castle got the ball. It was a bang bang play, almost went in. It almost went in, and it missed. And now it's a game 5 in San Antonio. So in a game like this, Sean, there's so much you have to be able to score through physicality, and that's what the Knicks did to come back on it. And Castle, the last play, tried to do it, but just couldn't finish it.
Are you cool with that being the play with that Stephon? I mean, he's 21 years old. He's a great player, but that he's the guy you go to. The obvious thing is like you're going to try to get the ball into Wemby. New York knows that. That's why they stayed big on big, as you mentioned. But is that as you're trying to figure that out in real time when you have just a scant few seconds to try to draw this thing up and try to tell your guys what to run and what to do? Are you going back to the film session if you're San Antonio, if you're someone on that staff, if you're someone on that roster, and you're going, yeah, we got it. That was the right play for us to call there. It just didn't work out.
Yeah, it was the right play. Good. Okay. Also, they got the ball to a good foul shooter. In other words, just say they did foul, hypothetically, on either the catch or on the shot is that Castle made 2 clutch free throws with 9.7 seconds left. And and he's rugged also. Unfortunately, that split second, he just didn't finish. And that made it into now a game 5. Now they're staring at 3-1. And let's get back to let's go forward for a second. So game 5 in San Antonio, you expect the Spurs to win. You mentioned a few seconds ago, and so do I. And that it's possible still that if it comes to game 6 in the Garden, the most recent time a team that was down 3-1 overcame it was the 2021 Bucks versus the Suns, and also the 2016 Cavaliers over the Warriors, where the epic comeback led by LeBron James and also by Matthew Dellavedova. Sean, the last time we mentioned Matthew Dellavedova, we're talking about the St. Mary's Gales of Bogana Park, California. But that was it. Remember, Matt Dellavedova played great in Game 7, and so did Kyrie, and so did LeBron James, and that's how long ago it was. It was 2016. So it does happen, but not that often. There's only been 5 times in the history of the NBA Finals that a team has come back from 3-1 to be champions.
So focusing on and because you brought up Matthew Dellavedova, so let's say that San Antonio, we'll start with game 5, all right? You've got Victor Wembanyama, who's got to play well. You've got your sort of cast of characters that you rely on consistently every game. Who is the role player? Who is the equivalent of a Matthew Dellavedova that's going to have to step up for this San Antonio Spurs team, be a difference maker, maybe an unexpected difference maker, in order to allow them to have hope for a 3-1 comeback?
Keldon Johnson. He was the 6th man of the year voted, and he's been invisible in the whole series.
Yeah.
And so he has to get himself going. And in other words, when you're a specialist as far as a shooter, they're not going to leave you. All right, so the way you try to get points for yourself until the rhythm of the game is run the floor, offensive rebounds, stick back, hustle plays, broken play baskets. And so Keldon Johnson has got to give them more. And last night's game was an illustration of it, where he was invisible. And that's why it's so important that your role players absolutely play well. So in the Knickerbocker point of view last night, it was Jose Alvarado. He played great for the Knicks. He gave them a big lift, and that helped them as far as the comeback. And that allowed Jalen Brunson to play sometimes off the ball, almost like as a 2-guard, and took away some of the mental health break that you need as far as a scorer. So in Game 5 in San Antonio, it's got to be Keldon Johnson, and also it could be Julian Champagnie. They need those guys to score baskets, and if a one-lane player, it would be Luke Cornett. And that's where those guys got to come alive for themselves, get themselves going. Remember, Victor Wembanyama, let's not forget, it's so hard. He's 22 years old, and he played 44 minutes last night, and he had a hard time finishing. He shot 9 for 25, but the worst part about it, he was 2 for 8 from threes, but it's when he took them. So now you've got to erase it. When you're a winning player like Wembanyama is, you've got to play forward now. So even though this collapse, as a matter of fact, right now, if I am a Mitch Johnson, I'm not even showing the team the film.
Really?
I'm not. No, I'm not. They heard about it already so many times already from everyone else around them that I'm not showing them the film. And then I'm going to show them why they're up. If I do show them the film, it's why they're up in the first half, why they're up versus how they lost it.
So from
the mental part of it is so important.
The player perspective, right? Your point is well made. These guys know exactly what they did wrong. They're going to be second guessing for the rest of their lives. You know, De'Aaron Fox is going to have a hard time putting that out of his mind, and Victor Wembanyama, like I said, is going to have nightmares about those 2 missed free throws down the stretch. For Mitch Johnson, he didn't look overly composed as that lead was evaporating either, and he's a young coach that has a lot to learn, even though he knows more basketball than I ever will. You let the players keep the film out, put it out of their mind, move forward. As a coach, how much can you do that? the coaching staff, they got to watch the film. They've got to do all this stuff.
Very
But
much.
but as a coach, we always emphasize this with players, Gordy, just like, you got to have a short memory. You got to forget. What's the right way to be as a coach?
You never forget. No, but you don't dress the team, though.
Yeah.
But in the meeting, for example, those guys watched that film, that painful film, when they flew home to San Antonio. I'm assuming it was this morning. Is that they're watching that film and they are cringing. 35,000 feet above sea level, they can't believe what they did or what they didn't do. What they didn't do, very simply, was that, again, you've got there's that fine line between giving the players freedom to shoot and being what? Arrogant about shot selection. And last night they crossed that line, the players did. So they're going to probably adjust slightly some of their play calling and situational thing as far as either dribble handoff action and get them more into a mid-range game. When the momentum's changing, you don't want to just keep firing three-point shots. You want to get the ball to the players in rhythm at the best chance of getting a made basket or a two-shot foul. And that's why it's so important, that fine line of showing confidence but the momentum changes everything. And the Knicks, to their credit, they just chipped away at it, Sean. It wasn't one thing they did. It was a whole bunch of things they did consistently in the fourth quarter, and there was a total collapse by the Spurs. And I'm saying move on from it if you're a player, and get ready on Saturday night where you're gonna finish the game.
All right, because I've been obsessed with this for the last couple of weeks, the get-in price. James, I want James to guess. I want Gordy to guess. A possible Game 6 at the Garden. You can buy tickets right now. Obviously, if the game doesn't happen, you'll be refunded. What do you think is the get-in price, the cheapest ticket available right now for San Antonio Spurs at New York Knicks, NBA Finals, Game 6, Madison Square Garden, a potential closeout game? James, you go first. What do you think the price, the minimum get-in price for that game is?
$10,000.
Okay, James says 10,000. We're going Price is Right rules here.
Oh, 9,999.
We're going Price is Right rules. Whoever's closest without going over gets a ticket to Game 6 at the Spence Checketts is going to buy you a ticket.
Okay, I'm going $9,999.
Okay, James says $9,999 as the minimum get-in price. Gordy, what say you?
Sure, Mason. One question. I know the Gardens, as far as seating chart, you're talking about the Blues, the upper deck.
I'm talking about the
upper deck.
The
Okay.
way upper deck. This is the farthest
It's called
reaches.
the Blues. They call it the Blues.
They're
Worst
way
seat in the
up there.
house.
Okay.
Worst seat in the house, but
Worst
you're
seat in
in
the
the
house.
building.
Yeah, we're in the building.
It's, by the way, right now it's section 418, which is it's way up in the corner.
Yeah.
Kind of behind the basket.
Okay, I'm going to say $6,666.
Okay. Spence has to buy James. It's $12,238.
No way. I thought 10 was way too high.
It's $12,000 plus,
Okay.
including fees, to get into section 418, row 6, up in the corner, way back there, to get into the building for Game 6. If you want to sit lower bowl, you're talking minimum price of $25,000.
Sure. Yeah.
So Spence is buying me tickets. That's the price here?
I should be clear. Spence has not agreed to this,
But he is.
but I'm just going to put it out there on the
Yeah.
show.
And he's listening, and he can dispute during crosstalk if he so pleases.
Yeah, he can. If speak now or forever hold your peace. If you don't want to buy James Peterson, your boss, if you don't want to buy him a trip to Madison Square Garden. By the way, the hotel rooms right now in New York City are about $1,500 a night because you got the World Cup happening nearby, and of course you've got NBA Finals going on, and just summertime in New York. People taking their trips to see New York City. The kids are off school. It's you're paying a premium, as they like to say.
Yeah, very much. And the only other time it's that expensive would be during United Nations Week. That's when end of September, where every diplomat in the world is in Midtown Manhattan, and the prices go up to literally $2,000 a night on the cheap side, and half of New York is blocked out, off streets are blocked off because of the security is so tight of all the diplomats. So that's I always tell people, never go to New York City on United Nations week. Usually, most times, it's at the end of September, usually speaking.
If you're looking to take out a mortgage on your house, a second mortgage to try to pay for some front row, some Section 5D Row A, about $200,000 a piece. So you want to be close to the action. You want to be rubbing elbows with Larry David and Adam Sandler and company. A pair of tickets will cost you $400,000 or so.
But the problem with this whole thing is that even though we're making light of it, is that it takes away so much of the fans, as far as they can't afford the games. It's that fine line where what is the price point where people say, "Are you kidding me?"
Yeah, we were talking about this with the World Cup as well.
Very much, absolutely.
And I'll look up during the break. I'll look up the get-in price for the World Cup starts today.
Yes,
Mexico is playing a game in Mexico. So, I don't know what the get-in price, but is it accessible to the average sports fan in New York? New York is, this way better than I ever will, Gordy. Your rent is already $6,000 a month for your 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom apartment. Right?
You got that right.
Everything costs so much money. Like groceries are more expensive. You probably don't have a car, but if you do, you got to pay to park it, insurance, all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's already prohibitively expensive just to live there, and then to be a New Yorker who's, let's be honest, most Knicks fans are New Yorkers, and then to try to get to this game, a potential closeout game, you kind of got to be ridiculous with your spending here, or you just can't do it. So it's tough. All right, we'll have a lot more to talk about. The NBA draft is coming. We're less than 2 weeks away now. There's some more conversations, some more rumor that Cam Boozer might be flirting up with that top 1 or 2 selection. The Utah Jazz obviously sitting at number 2. I think his agents are doing just a really good job right now of putting his name in a conversation that he doesn't actually belong in. But we'll get Gordy Chiesa's thoughts on it here in just a couple of minutes. It's the Sean O'Connell Show. Oh, wait. Before I go to the break, I forgot. The Ron McBride Foundation is bringing you a concert at the Utah State Fair Park August 22nd. The Head and the Heart coming to the Utah State Fair Park 8/22. Tickets and info at ESPN700sports.com for a chance to win a pair of tickets. Text HEART to 33986. That's HEART to 33986. The Ron McBride Foundation presenting The Head and the Heart Saturday, August 22nd at the Utah State Fair Park. Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. I hope you're enjoying this.
Last night, and that was based on Adventures of a Lifetime by Coldplay, because last night's game was a lifetime adventure.
Unbelievable game last night. New York Knicks take a 3-1 series advantage. San Antonio goes back to their home arena on Saturday. We'll have that game for you right here on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. It's not the only thing happening in the NBA world. We're a couple of weeks away, less than that now, from the upcoming NBA draft. And to wet our whistle on some draft trivia, Gordy, you've got – this is not the official list of the day, but this is a list of the top Utah basketball draft picks.
That's correct, yeah. We did last week BYU because A.J. DeBonso is going to be number one in the draft, and Sean's alluding to before about all the agents doing a lot of talking. It's all part of the gamemanship by the agents. This list, this is a short list today as far as this segment. University of Utah players selected in the top 10 of the NBA draft. Just the top 10 as far as where you're selected as far as 1 through 10. It's really a short list, and it's a history of Utah Utes basketball, and hopefully for the Utes, they can get a player in this list very, very shortly. All right. Long time ago, 1949, Vern Gardner was picked number 6 in the draft. He had a 3-year NBA career. Billy the Hill McGill, who was a tremendous player, 1962, was the first pick of the draft, had a 5-year NBA career. And I remember Billy McGill, when he played, was that he had a legendary 15-foot running hook shot from the middle of the floor. It was legendary. Number 8, Jerry Chambers, in 1966, was the 7th pick of the draft. He had a 6-year NBA, ABA career. Number 7, Mike Sojourner, 1974, was the 10th pick of the draft, had a 3-year NBA career. Number 6, we all know him. He played for the Jazz. I coached him with the Jazz from 1993 to 1995. Tom Chambers, in 1981, was the 8th pick of the draft. He had a 16-year NBA career, 4-time All-Star. His teammate of the same year, Danny Veranes, the pride of Skyline High School in 1981, was the 5th pick of the draft that year, had a 7-year career. Number 4, 1997, the 2nd pick of the draft, Keith Van Horn, had a 9-year NBA career. Number 3, one of the most underrated players in the history of NBA basketball. He was beloved by every Utes fan. He had this unbelievable winning game. Yes, I'm talking about Andre Miller in 1999, was the 8th pick of the draft. He had a brilliant 17-year career. As we speak right now, he's the 13th all-time leader in assists, history of NBA basketball, with 8,524 dimes. Number 2 for the Utah Utes, Andrew Bogut, in 2005, was the first pick of the draft. He had a tremendous 14-year career, including a championship with the Golden State Warriors back in 2015. And the most recent Utah Utes picked in the top 10 was 10 years ago, in 2016, was Jaco Pertl, who's from Austria. He was the 9th pick of the draft. He's had, as we speak right now, he plays for the Toronto Raptors. He's had a 10-year career. So, Sean, back in 2005, Utes had a Bogut picked in the first pick of the draft, and in the NBA, who's picked number 1 in the NFL draft?
Well, Alex Smith was number 1 to the San Francisco 49ers, and it's the only time in history that the same school has produced number 1 in both drafts.
That is absolutely correct. And add to that also, remember, Sean, because you're a 49er fan, and so am I, that the first year with Alex Smith, he struggled as a rookie because of injuries, etc. The next year, they had a new coordinator, Norm Turner, and he balled out, which shows you, that, again, the power of coaching, and especially in football, even in basketball, who's the offensive coordinator is so much, if you're a system player, how it plays out.
Also, at that point, the record has since been broken, but that Alex Smith's rookie year, he was sacked more than any quarterback had ever been sacked in a single season. And then I think it was David Carr that ended up taking that record from him. But, yeah, it was not an ideal start to Alex Smith's NFL career. with the San Francisco 49ers. Eventually, he did really great things with the Niners. I will forever die on the hill that the Niners should not have replaced Alex Smith with Colin Kaepernick, but they were enamored with Kaepernick's ability to move the ball with his legs, and obviously we know how all that ended up working out really for both guys. Alex Smith goes on to an incredible career with the Kansas City Chiefs and with the Redskins/Commanders, and obviously was the comeback player of the year after that gruesome leg injury, and a great story on, you know, how his wife made the decision. While he was completely unconscious, comatose, his wife made the decision to save his leg and to make sure that he still had an opportunity to play. And now, by the way, Alex is an unbelievable analyst on the desk. So good stuff.
It just shows you, though, again, the power of perseverance. And that's whether Alex Smith's career with the NFL or many other players. And for the listeners right now, the draft's going to be on June 23rd. And right now, a lot of people, especially the agents, they're doing all the talking on social media. If you notice, the teams never talk because you can't by the rules. So the teams never say who they're going to draft. They do have a press release saying that they're working out so-and-so. And every team works out a whole bunch of players for the second round and also for the Summer League team, and maybe possibly on two-way contracts. And so the way I see the draft right now, it's going to be a tremendous for the Jazz. It's going to be, I think it's going to be, number one, A.J. DeBoncer, number one. Number two, Darren Peterson. Number three, Cam Boozer. And number four, Caleb Wilson. That's what I believe. And I think it makes sense for every team as far as getting a major, unbelievable, talented guy, but also the fit. So this could be a draft where the pieces do fit as far as the top-heavy part of it.
How much information is gleaned from these workouts, these invitations, guys coming in and doing things in front of the coaching staff personally? Because, you know, the Utah Jazz, it seems like they're probably pretty set on where they're going to pick with that number 2 spot already, but they're bringing in guys and they're working out different guys. So I know it. You know, you go through these motions and you're establishing relationships for later on and all these different reasons. But how much information do you get out of these final workouts that players are doing in front of teams?
Just partially. In other words, where the coaching staff who watch these guys play many times, as far as not live but on film, they're getting a chance to talk to them one-on-one, and I call kick the tires, where in some of the shooting drills, they'll see the guys form. But the scouts are the ones that decide, basically, absolutely, because they've seen these guys play in the personnel side so many times before live. And so when you work guys out, it's more for possibly during the draft, if suddenly someone comes available and there's a trade opportunity, they might trade a future pick because they like so-and-so in the draft, and they to protect themselves, where we've already worked them out, and we do like him in the second round or late first round. In Jazz basketball, as we speak right now, and that could change. The draft is absolutely fluid, is that the Jazz are picking number 2 and don't have any other picks as we speak right now in the second round, and that could absolutely change. Now, how do you buy into the second round, even the first round? Roughly speaking, it costs $2 to $3 million for the privilege to buy a pick in the second round, and to buy a draft slot in the first round, it costs roughly $3 to $5 million to buy in. And some teams are willing to do that, and some teams don't want to pick more than one guy, or the guy they wanted was already taken, and now they're willing to get some assets as far as economically or future picks later on. So it's absolutely critical how you, again, on the draft board, they have all these players listed on the board, but they're also talking to teams about a possibly trade. There's much more action the week before the draft. So suddenly that Monday morning of draft week, that's when everybody is getting serious, Sean, about possibly, would you be interested in trading a draft slot for our guy, or even during the first round of the draft, they'll be trading during that time, and it'll be announced in the second round.
How much do the players on the roster right now, like, I know their input is I'm sure, welcomed conversationally, but how much do they campaign for certain players? How much do players, try to stick their nose in the business of the personnel department when you're talking about drafting, whether seriously or just saying like, hey, that's my guy. He went to my school. We need to draft him. How much of that goes on?
Nominal. Yeah, nominal, because they're not dealing objectively. They're viewing the world only through their friendship with the player, and also the agent's involved. So a lot of times, hey, we're the exact same agent or agency, and that he's my guy, right? Meaning we played together in college or AU ball, or we play pickup games in Santa Monica, or we play pickup games at Chelsea Pier in New York City, and that's all part of it. But it's really nominal. The people do this every single day. They know, they have an idea, and the intel is a factor. So right now, I would say with Darren Peterson, who's been missed some games with Kansas, he missed 11 games during the season, that the Jazz and all the other teams in the top part of the draft, they did unbelievable intel about him of finding out what actually happened. They're calling everybody that knows the guy objectively of trying to get information and then put it together right now. It's being really I'm being like a detective.
Do coaches have contact with agents ever?
Yes. However, the agents don't want to hear what the coaches say, because the coaches, their sole purpose is to win. The agent's sole purpose is what? Get their client the most money in a winning environment. So there's two factors as far as not clashing, but they're not really meeting at a certain point. So the answer is yes. They do talk to the agent nominally, but it doesn't affect totally what is happening. That the people on the personal side, meaning management, they're talking to the agents all the time. And again, the agent's job is to get the player the most money in the best playing environment. The management's job is to give the head coach a chance with a winning roster, and then the coach's job is to have one win and two coach these guys up. So there's so many different dynamics, and a thing called what? The salary cap, and the first apron and second apron as far as a tax luxury affects everything also. As always, every coach wants the players to get paid the most money that they deserve, but by the way, let's win. And that's that unbelievable, invisible dialogue that goes on forever in every sport. Sean, like any business, what you want to do is get bang for your buck.
100%.
I'm simplifying it, but that's what you want to do in any business, and that's what the NBA draft is. And also, come July 1st, Sean, a thing called free agency. And that also is such a factor right now. Hey, how much did the Jazz play Walker Kessler? Walker Kessler, restricted free agent. He's good. Only played 5 games last year. He's part of the future. The Jazz drafted him. He's homegrown. How much does he gets paid? He wants to get paid minimum the exact same contract, if not more, than Jakob Poeltl mentioned earlier, who makes $27.5 million, and Isaiah Hartenstein, who did a good job against Victor Wembanyama when they when the Thunder battled the Spurs. Hartenstein did a really good job as far as going body on body. He makes $28.5 million. That's what Walker Kessler people are saying. That's the minimum of what we think our client's worth.
Gordy, what's your list today?
Okay, last night, Sean, Jalen Brunson balls out 36 points. This list today is a short list of the most career 30-plus point games in NBA Finals history, career-wise, who had the most 30-point plus games. Note, his basket-making foundations. 1, in playoff games, you've got to score through defensive physicality. 2, you've got to be a solo shot creator and finisher. 3, in clutch moments, you convert with your go-to move in a game. What is your go-to basket move in a game, in a playoff game? 4, you've got to exhibit being a tremendous foul shooter, because you're going to get fouled all the time, and you're a star player. And 5, it sounds so simple, and Sean, this is what we talked about, you and I and James, the last few minutes. You've got to convert and make layups. The ability to make a layup in a playoff game is absolutely critical. Here we go. These 4 players all tied with 8 career 30-point final games. They are George Mikan, Hakeem Olajuwon, John Havlicek, and Rick Barry did it 8 times. Number 10th all-time, Kevin Durant did it 9 times in the NBA Finals, 30 points or more. Number 9, Kobe Bryant did it 13 times. Number 7, tied, Bob Pettit and Steph Curry did it 14 times in the Finals, 30 points or more games. Number 5 all-time, tied. Speaking about signature moves and also finishing layups, they are Kareem Abdul-Jabbar and Shaquille O'Neal. They did it 16 times, 30-point games or more. Number 4 all-time, Elgin Baylor did it 19 times in the NBA Finals. Number 3, he's a locomotive. He plays for the L.A. Lakers. LeBron James scored 30 points or more in the final games 22 times. Number 2, Michael Jordan did it 23 times, 30-point games or more. And the number 1 player of all time for the most ever 30-point games in NBA Finals history is Jerry West. He did 31 times.
Wow.
Quickly, in jazz basketball, Karl Malone did it 3 times, 30-point games or more in the NBA Finals back in 1997 and 98. And just for listening, before you get off the air right now, today, unfortunately, or fortunately, if you're a Bulls fan, if you're a Jazz fan, or you're a former Jazz coach like myself, 29 years ago was the famous Michael Jordan flu game. Allegedly, Sean, a flu game where Michael Jordan got a bad dose of pizza, etc., who had the flu, but it didn't affect Michael Jordan because he played sensational. We also saw the graphic of it with Scottie Pippen's dragging out Michael Jordan as far as back into that huddle. In the flu game, Michael Jordan played 44 minutes. He scored 38 points, 7 rebounds, and 5 assists, 3 steals, and 1 block. And the Jazz lost that game 90-88 in the famous flu game. That was 1997. So you have the flu. You're somewhat like Kevin Bacon. 6 degrees separation, Sean, between Kevin Bacon, the guy has the flu right now, and Michael Jordan. Thus, that's my list of today.
It's a bad anniversary for Utah Jazz fans.
And it's the World Cup, though.
How about the World Cup? World Cup starts today. Mexico, South Africa, the first game. By the way, I looked for tickets for the game, which starts in half an hour, on the secondary market. Now, I'm going to be incredibly impressed. And maybe in Mexico, they've got, a different website that they could go to or whatever. If you go to like SeatGeek, StubHub, any of those right now are traditional secondary markets, you cannot get tickets to this game. That impresses me. If there's truly no tickets available because the people that bought the tickets, they're going, that's great. Because, we'll look on Saturday, and there'll be some San Antonio Knicks finals get like at tip-off time. Someone's going to be trying to offload their tickets for a profit. If they can't, they'll go. But it looks like there's actually truly no tickets available for this Mexico-South Africa game. That's awesome, because the Mexican fans are going to show up and support. The game is in Mexico City. Do you have a pick for who's going to win the World Cup? We're going to do our picks here on the Sean O'Connell Show, and it's uninformed soccer, okay? We're picking based on a vague awareness of them being good soccer nations and maybe a player or two that we're aware of. But, Gordy, who's going to win this World Cup?
England.
All right.
The last time they won was 1966. The last time they won. So, English, I'm taking England. Sean, Beatles back in the 60s. Mini skirts showing back in the 60s in England. These are all things about it. And I'm taking England for the first time since 1966.
You know what the English say?
What?
It's coming home. That's what they say about the World Cup. That's what they say about any coveted soccer trophy that they want to win. It's coming home. Even though it hasn't come home for a lifetime for most of their soccer fans, that's the optimistic rallying cry for the English. It's coming home. I've got a bunch of English people on my social media because of the fight world, and all of them That's their thing right now. It's coming home. Gordy says he believes.
I believe, Sean. It's
all
coming
right.
home.
Gordy, you're the man. Thanks for coming in. What a great thing to have an hour with you today to recap that epic game last night at MSG.
Thanks, Sean. Peace out.
That's Gordy Chiesa. We've got the Daily Dump. We've got a PGA Tour leaderboard update. And, yes, we have our World Cup picks coming in about 15 minutes. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. The truck with the Duck Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling can take care of, well, all of it. If your air conditioner's on the fritz, give them a call right now or go to valleyplumbing.com, make an appointment online. You don't even have to pick up the phone. World Cup picks coming here in our next segment, Daily Dump, with a PGA Tour leaderboard update thrown in here. PGA Tour leaderboard updates are brought to you by our friends over at You Into Golf. The Father's Day shopping is happening right now. Father's Day is 10 days away, I'm told. New clubs. Right now, actually, if you trade in your current clubs, you'll get 2 times the bonus trade-in value towards any new Quantum, X-Forged, Apex, Riva clubs with Callaway. You Into Golf by Worldwide Golf. Get there. Go in person up and down the Wasatch Front and tell them OC sent you. What's going on at the RBC Canadian Open, James?
National championship, the Canadian Open. Sahith Theegala is he's your solo leader right now. Sam Ryder, Tony Finau, Rose Park Zone. He's in a group tied for second, 1 shot off the lead, and he threw their first round there. So shout out to Tony, great start for him. Tied for 7th, kind of rounding out the top 10. You got guys at 4 under like Max McGreevy, Billy Horschel, Taylor Pendrith, the Canadian, Adam Svensson, another Canadian in that group as well. They're trying to win their national championship. Americans like Tony Finau are trying to say, we own you, Canada. Hockey and now golf. That's your PGA Tour leaderboard update brought to you by You Into Golf.
All right. Patrick Mahomes has reworked his deal with the Kansas City Chiefs. He's now got $500 million coming his way. About $504 million will become guaranteed through contract mechanisms. He can make up to $522 million through incentives and escalators, according to Adam Schefter and Ian Rappaport.
So
that is a $500 million, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, first player, it kind of goes without saying, first player in history to have a contract worth that much money. I copied that from the Adam Schefter article, the via contract mechanisms becomes fully guaranteed. The article did not go on to say what mechanisms. So there's something that will make this $504 million plus fully guaranteed, and then he has about $18 more million in incentives up for grabs for him.
Can I give you a hot take here?
Yeah.
This is a bad contract.
I kind of felt the same way as I read it.
Patrick Mahomes is a great quarterback. Patrick Mahomes is not getting better right now as a quarterback. He's not young enough, in my opinion, for you to be spending this kind of money on him for the next 7 years. He'll be 37 at the expiration of this contract, which we've seen with quarterbacks especially. Like, you could play now into your 40s at the quarterback position. Tom Brady did. Aaron Rodgers has. Russell Wilson. I mean, there's guys that play into their 40s. Patrick Mahomes' style is and has been pretty dependent on his athleticism, his improvisational abilities, and his production these last 3 years has not been all that spectacular. He has not thrown even 30 touchdown passes in the last 3 years. He's had 14, 11, and 11 interceptions. And I get it, right? You look at him and you say, well, that guy can do things that other people can't do. Sure. Yes. Great. $500 million. This is a hard cap league, right? And yeah, if you're going to let him walk or you're not going to pay him this, you have to find a better alternative. And that's where the Chiefs are. They're kind of stuck here. You can't not pay Patrick Mahomes what the league thinks Patrick Mahomes is worth. But there's going to be a time, not yet, maybe 2 years from now, maybe 5 years from now, maybe 1 year from now, where people are going to look at his cap number and they're going to say, goodness gracious, Patrick Mahomes does not justify this much money. Hot take here in the...
What you were saying about his numbers declining over the last 3 years, they went to the Super Bowl 2 of those years, so we kind of just shrugged and went, well, I guess he's still the best in the league. But then last year they missed the playoffs.
Well, he's great, but he's coached by the best in the league. I mean, there's a lot more to it than just because, like,
yeah.
when you're throwing 22 touchdowns and 11 interceptions, that's not $50 million a year quarterback play anymore.
No, that's not spectacular. No.
Anyway.
Yeah, and I say we all kind of just shrugged and went, well, I still guess he's the best, but like you say, he's coached by the best in the league. He's had some of the best weapons in the league. Now that's not the case. I just wonder if this dip that we've seen the last few years from him individually is going to be the norm for the next little bit, or if that's just, hey, he's adjusting to guys like Travis Kelce getting older. They've tried to reload here. He's going to be back to the way he was before. I'm not so sure he will be, though. So I kind of agree with you. Maybe this isn't going to turn out so well long term.
He was 12th in the league in total yards last year as a quarterback. He was 23rd in quarterback rating last year. Average yards per completion, he was, let me keep scrolling down until I can actually find his name, because that's how bad it was for Patrick Mahomes last year. 17. I mean, a lot of the big-time metrics, he just wasn't necessarily top dog anymore. 17th in touchdown passes. He was, let's see, there were how many guys that threw fewer interceptions? Shedeur Sanders threw fewer interceptions than Patrick Mahomes did last year.
Yeah.
And I'm not trying to be on this, like, hate bandwagon for Patrick Mahomes, but he's just right. It's the NFL, like every other league, is a what have you done for me lately league, and Patrick Mahomes lately has not been the Patrick Mahomes that made the Chiefs into what we consider the Chiefs to be.
Yeah, and it finally matters because they missed the playoffs last year. It didn't matter so much the 2 years before that when this statistical dip started to happen, OC, because they went to the Super Bowl. They won one of those years. It matters now because they missed the playoffs. We'll see how this plays out.
Game 5 of the Stanley Cup Final is tonight at 6, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. The series is tied 2-2. Carolina hosting Vegas in Raleigh. Just a reminder there. We talked about this with the French Open, that there was a potential boycott looming at the French Open. Top players in the world were not happy with the percentage of prize money being paid out. And Wimbledon caught wind of this. Of course, these tournaments operate as kind of independent bodies when it comes to the top level of tennis. And the payout for the French Open was something like 15% of the total revenue from the tournament was being paid out to players. Wimbledon paid attention to the protests, and Wimbledon announced 20% increases in total prize money for the singles champions. It'll be just under $5 million each, $4.8 million for the champions of this Grand Slam that is beginning next month. I'm very excited. I get to go to my first ever Wimbledon next month. Total prize money, which, of course, Wimbledon did this. They also threw in player per diem, is going to be $85.8 million. The biggest, it's by far the biggest annual increase in the tournament's histories.
All of that's going to Alcaraz. No, it's being
he's
split
not
up.
playing.
Oh yeah, he's out, isn't he?
Yeah,
it's all going to Sinner and French Open, now reigning French Open champ Alexander Zverev. No, that's I guess between all the men's and women's competitors combined.
That's everybody. That's all of it.
That's a lot of money.
So I'm looking for the actual percentage of revenue that this represents, because this year I am contributing to that revenue. You know how many strawberries and cream I'm going to be eating at Wimbledon, James?
That's the big concession, right? Strawberries and cream.
Yeah,
it's like that's the pimento cheese sandwich of Wimbledon.
Yeah, the quintessential Wimbledon treat, with fans consuming 1.9 million strawberries during the tournament.
Strawberries, and that's how you have to order it, by the way. Talk the regular way every time every other instance, but when you order your dessert, say strawberries and cream, please.
Yeah, can I get a hot dog? Can I get some fries and some strawberries and cream? Pip pip cheerio.
And then just see how big the eye roll is when you do that.
You know what's funny is because of maybe you'll get to this point, James. I don't know if you guys are into Bluey yet in the household. I don't know if you guys watch Bluey. It's a wonderful show. Because of Bluey, my kids say things like blueberries.
Blueberries?
Instead of blueberries, blueberries. They say library because that's how the little dogs on Bluey say library.
So we have not gotten into Bluey yet. I've heard plenty about it. Did not know. So are they English?
They're Australian.
They're Australian. Okay.
Yeah.
Didn't know the nationality there. Okay.
Which is, similar accent.
Yeah. Blueberries.
Blueberries. A standard portion of strawberries and cream at Wimbledon is going to cost £2.85. So that's like $5 for some strawberries and cream. I'll fork that over.
That's actually a good price for a concession at a sports event. $5. I'll do that. And I know it's nothing to our mountain menu items, but that's still pretty good.
It's not bad.
Yeah,
not bad. It's not Arthur Blank generosity, but
No.
we're up there. Okay?
Arthur Blank. Every time you say his name, you think you're swearing. Arthur Blank.
It's not Arthur Blank. All right. That's your Daily Dump brought to you by Valley Plumbing, Heating, and Cooling. We're going to get to some World Cup picks based on very little research and an acute unawareness of the world.
No, these are very well informed. You should be listening to these and taking notes because, as you know, OC and I are the biggest soccer experts in Salt Lake City, and Greater Utah.
So we're going to go through group winners and everything. That's what
we're
doing
here? Group winners and then a champion, and maybe we do a bonus. How far does U.S. men's national team go?
All right, let's do that
kind of thing.
The Sean O'Connell Show with our picks, and then of course Jay Nolly is going to bring us some World Cup talk from an actually informed perspective at 1:00. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. All right, Jay Nolly is going to join us in about 10 minutes. We'll talk World Cup with him on a serious front. He knows what he's watching with the World Cup, and so do a lot of the folks down there at Beer Bar. So we'll get to Jay Nolly, but right now the World Cup picks coming from the official Sean O'Connell show. I'm going to give you my picks. James is going to give you his picks. We're going to snake draft this thing, basically. So I get to pick.
You get the top pick.
I get the top pick.
I'll let you have the top pick, boss. And then I'll get 2 in a row, and then you get 2 in a row, and so forth.
All right. Okay. We'll do it that way. So we'll go through all the groups.
Yeah.
And then our
champion
pick for the actual champ.
And then how far we think the U.S. men's national team is going to go. Unless you pick them to be the champion or I pick them to be the champion, then of course we know how far they're going to go.
Okay. Wow.
Okay. Here we go. Group A, we'll start with Group A, of course. That's Mexico, host team in the group, South Africa, South Korea, and Czechia. First pick goes to you, Sean O'Connell.
All right. Well, my heart says South Africa because I've had so many wonderful experiences in that country. But I'm going to go with South Korea, the Korea Republic, because I at least know of one great MLS player that is on that roster. And they played some friendlies down in Provo getting ready for this World Cup. So because of those very loose connections, I'm going Korea.
I got to go Czechia. Those Eastern Europeans, they're tough. And I'm love my Eastern Europeans. Served the old mission in Hungary. Those Czechs, don't mess with the Czechs. So I'm going Czechia.
By the way, already grievances being aired for people because neither of us picked Mexico. They're a host nation, and host nations don't do all that well.
Yeah, everyone knows that. And also their formation, the 1-2-5. I'm not so sure about that.
All right, Group B.
Group B. So I'll start off with Group B. As we snake draft here, that's Canada, Bosnia, Herzegovina, Qatar, Qatar, Switzerland. My pick. Obviously Bosnia, Herzegovina. They're our host team. They're training out in Harriman for the last month or so, or however long. So they're our team here. And like I said, I'm not going to go against those Eastern Europeans. That toughness that's spread over there.
All right, my wife's favorite place to visit on earth is Switzerland. I'm going Switzerland.
Okay. All right, so Group C.
Okay.
That's to you now. Brazil, Morocco, Haiti, Scotland.
I mean, I'm going Brazil just because Brazil usually is good at soccer, and Brazil cares so much about soccer. And it is a massive nation with an incredible amount of ethnic diversity that also allows for some really good athletes in multiple sports to emerge from there. Some of the greatest legends of the game ever are Brazilian. Brazil feels like, even for a non-soccer guy, it's the no-brainer here.
Overrated. Wow. When was the last time they did anything World Cup? Every time it's Brazil's turn, they're going to win. They're going to, to quote the English people, they're going to bring it home. No, they never do. I'm going with the Scots. They don't have an Eastern European team in this group, so Scotland, those Highlanders, they're tough and gritty just like those guys, so I'm going with the Scots.
Brazil literally won a World Cup in our lifetime. It was 2002 was the last time Brazil brought. Okay.
24 years ago.
Okay. All right. Okay. Fine.
You were just getting out of high school when they last.
That was my graduating year of high school. Yes. Okay. Group
Overrated.
D.
Group D. This is our group. This is Team USA, U.S. men's national team, USA, Paraguay, who their first game is against tomorrow, Australia, and Turkey, the new way to say Turkey. Yeah. And I believe it's you.
No,
you just did.
I went first with Brazil in Group C.
Oh, Group D. Sorry, it is me. I am going with. I'm going with Team USA, of course. I mean, I am a Patriot, OC.
All right.
And I'm breaking away from my Eastern European thing. I thought about Turkey for all those same reasons I picked Czechia, but
okay.
USA.
All right. Now, the rule is I can't pick the same team as James, even though we both want it to be Team USA. So my heart says Team USA, obviously. And then I'm torn because Australia... And again, awesome place to visit. Had a lot of fun every time I've been there. and my kids love Bluey, as we just covered. They're from Australia. But the food in the Turkish Airlines lounge at the Istanbul airport is as good as you could possibly ever get.
Doner kebabs and whatnot.
Oh, it's so good. They have a whole baklava section. I mean, I love that lounge.
It's not Greek food, though, even though it's basically the same as Greek food.
Yeah, it's all that Mediterranean cuisine is pretty much the same. So
there's a bit of a rivalry there.
And by the way, Turkey should be better than Australia, like in the actual soccer sense. They should be better. So I'm going to go Turkey.
All right. Now, that moves us on to Group E. This is your pick again. Germany, Curacao, Ivory Coast, and Ecuador.
Okay. Germany is definitely the best team in this group. So even though I would like to pick Ivory Coast because they almost have an Irish flag, I'm going Germany because I know that they're the best team here.
That was my pick because, half of Germany used to be Eastern Europe. Anyway,
okay, wow.
I'm going with Ecuador.
All right.
Since you took Germany, just because, why not?
Yeah, why not?
Go Ecuadorians. All right, that moves us to Group F, and that's my first pick on Group F. That's the Netherlands, which apparently we say it's just Netherlands. It's like Ukraine. A lot of people say the Ukraine. Anyway, Netherlands, Japan, Sweden, Tunisia. I am going with, for this Group F, I'm going with Sweden. That's the farthest east.
Oh, wow.
And they're tough. They're tough people up in. I'm also Scandinavian heritage. Got to go with the Vikings of the Swedes.
Got to do it then. I am going. This is a pure uniforms pick because it irritates me, but it draws my attention that Netherlands, they speak Dutch. They're also called Holland, and their uniforms are orange instead of red, white, or blue, which, of course, is the colors on their flag. It's always been something that I just don't understand, yet Netherlands is my pick for this group because they confuse me. But they're pretty good at sports.
Yeah, they're typically pretty good at soccer. So
they're also the tallest. Pick. They're also the tallest nation on earth, and they're also the best English-speaking nation outside of England or the United States.
Oh, I would have thought Denmark or something. Interesting. All right, Netherlands. Okay. Your pick again as we snake to you. Group G: Belgium, Egypt, Iran, New Zealand.
Okay, I'm going with Belgium here because that is my most recent trip for the PFL. We were in Belgium, and the sports fans in Belgium are absolutely manic and insane. So, yeah, go Brussels, Belgium.
I was hoping you'd pick one of the other teams who most certainly are not going to win this group, so I could sound smart and be like, yeah, the Belgians are always good at soccer, plus the waffles and everything. Iran, give me Iran. They're underdogs for many reasons in this World Cup.
They're the ultimate underdogs right now. Okay,
in many ways, not just because they're not the best soccer nation, but also you know what I'm talking about. A tough road for them to get to North America.
Wow.
I'm going with the Iran.
The Pyramids are on the phone feeling disrespected by James Peterson for not going with that, as are Kiwi Birds. Wow.
All right. Group H, my pick again, Spain, Cabo Verde, Saudi Arabia, Uruguay. I'm going Spain because that's what a lot of people think. A lot of actual soccer experts think are going to win it all. So
yeah,
Spain
that's
for me.
All right.
And I get to pick first. So
you know what? You know what? Saudi Arabia, if you playing your professional career in Saudi Arabia made so that you could play for Saudi Arabia in the World Cup, things might be a little bit different because Cristiano Ronaldo is playing professionally over there right now. I'm going Cabo Verde. Cape Verde is a tiny little island nation off the coast of Africa, and my sister-in-law, who I like very much, served her mission there. So I'm going to go Cape Verde.
And you love Africa, so it's perfect.
Yeah, it's great.
And you absolutely think they're going to beat Spain, right?
Also, I'm reading a book about the disappearance of Adolf Hitler and many of the places that he might have ended up if he did escape after World War II. And Uruguay is on the short list, so I can't pick Uruguay. Keep going.
All right. Group I, your pick again, OC. France.
Ooh, okay. I am
Senegal, Iraq, Norway.
I'm incredibly torn here. I'm picking France because I think France actually has a great chance of winning the whole World Cup, and that's like a smart pick. Also, Kylian Mbappe and company, they've come to several PFL fights, so I feel good about them. But Norway had the coolest team picture we've ever seen. Did you see this?
I didn't see this.
Norway, the World Cup soccer team dressed as Vikings and took pictures. It's a really cool picture. I'm still going with France.
Oh. Well, that opens up for me to take Norway because, Scandinavian heritage, closest Eastern Europe in the group. So, the toughness, man, I'm taking the Norwegians.
Okay, good enough. Fine.
Group J, Argentina, Algeria, Austria, and Jordan. Jordan didn't get the memo. You had to start with an A. But anyway, my pick first, right?
Yeah,
for this
sure.
one?
Whatever. I don't really know. I'm not keeping track, but go ahead.
I can't. You don't go against Jordan. Jordan always wins big tournaments. So I'm taking Jordan.
Okay, I think you might have a different Jordan in your mind.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I'm obviously going in Argentina here because the best player in the world still plays for Argentina.
Never bet against Jordan. You saw with the Jazz. What happened to the Jazz?
But the Michael Jordan of soccer is playing for Argentina. Okay.
Group K. We're 2 groups left. Group K. Your pick again: Portugal, Congo, Uzbekistan, Colombia.
All right. I'm going to go off the beaten path here. Uzbekistan. Shout out to my guy Ilya Orzirsky, longtime friend of mine. Uzbekistan roots. And the Uzbeks are tough, man. So I think they're going to surprise everyone here.
All right, give me Portugal, Ronaldo.
Oh, weird.
Let's go.
Oh, so it's your first sensible pick of the entire draft. All right. That's great.
The Iberian Peninsula are my sensible picks. I picked Spain and Portugal.
All right.
Group L, England, Croatia, Ghana, Panama. Last group, my first pick, Croatia. The Croats, I believe they got to the Final Four 4 years ago. And, those Eastern Europeans can't go against that toughness. Let's go Croatia.
All right, Ghana for me. Ghana, I think, is the hope for the African continent in this World Cup. Shout out Ziggy Ansah. And, I think Ghana is great here. And already, Gordy has already picked England to win the whole thing. We defer to Gordy. He gets to keep England.
We'll let Gordy believe that the cup is coming home. Let's do overall champion. OC, you're first.
Okay, France is the overall champion here. I'm being semi-serious about this one. I think France has a great opportunity. They've got a deep roster. They also have, some superstar level talent. So France has a very realistic opportunity, in my opinion, to win this thing. And they're not a host nation. When we talked with Lauren Beck about all the things that
host nations don't ever win.
Host nations don't necessarily win, but she also said European teams have a hard time outside of Europe usually, but still, France is going to be my pick.
I mean, Wemby is now an American, so is Rudy Gobert, so maybe France can pull it off in America. I mean, you can't go against Jordan, okay? Yeah, I already told you. He's 6-0, OC, in championship tournaments, championship series, finals, whatever. So I'm going – Jordan's my champion.
Jordan? You're picking Jordan?
I can't go against Air Jordan.
How deep does Team USA get?
They're going to the quarterfinals. However improbable that is, I'm going bold. They're getting to the quarterfinals.
Wow.
First time since 2002.
I think they get eliminated in the first knockout round. They make it outside of the group stage, but they'll
Well, yeah, you didn't even pick them to win their group, so
okay.
But
you already picked them. You already picked. You know what? We got to take a break. Jay Nolly joins us next. He will have actual World Cup analysis to offer. It's the Sean O'Connell Show on ESPN 700 and 92.1 FM. Time for some World Cup talk, some serious World Cup talk. Brought to you by our friends over at Beer Bar. If you're looking for a place to watch, well, today's game, which started about 7 minutes ago, Mexico, South Africa, and of course tomorrow it's USA versus Paraguay at SoFi. Beer Bar is the perfect place. They'll have lunch and drink specials all throughout the tournament. Jay Nolly, professional soccer veteran, insider, soccer mind, joins us here to talk World Cup. Jay Nolly, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
Thanks for having me, OC. And I think we're a little more aligned on how we're looking at the World Cup currently.
You mean James's pick on the nation, the soccer powerhouse nation of Jordan to win it all is not necessarily in your wheelhouse?
I originally thought he was taking like Michael Jordan, who picked like Argentina or something, but that was not the case.
Yeah, we lost James on that one. That's totally fine. So obviously we went through the groups, and I'm not going to pretend I know about most of these soccer nations. I have not taken the deep dive that I'm sure you and other people have into who really has a chance to win this thing beyond the sort of normal cast of characters. But is there a dark horse in this tournament, in your opinion? Is there a team that you're going to be watching that maybe there's not a ton of like championship level expectation, but you think could actually pull it off? Oh, goal already in Mexico versus South Africa. We're off to the scoring early. Sorry.
No, it's great too. I got that up on my screen too, so I'm watching that as well. It's always tough when you especially when you look at that, kind of top 10 group. It's stacked. The phenomenal players across the country and just well-rounded, and a lot of them have won World Cups, recently too. I think Morocco, we've continued to see kind of a growth from Morocco. I think that's one that you just kind of never know if they can squeak through. Right now, I have them once they get kind of, through into the round of 32. The problem is they could match up with the Netherlands. So depending on what draw they get, they might have a tougher one on that top side, but I do think they're a really good squad to just kind of watch out for. Ghana, I heard you talk about that earlier. You just can never count them out. They're either going to show up and be a really tough team to play against. But again, if they get the kind of draw they have, they're going to end up, matching up with Portugal early, which is going to be really tough. And that's where I think the big dogs kind of have a good opportunity. If they get that 1-2 in the group and they're not that third place, they can kind of skate each other. But I have a pretty good semifinal matchup that, if it does get to that, it's about as classic as it comes.
This question comes from a random viral moment where one of the best soccer players in the world, a Spanish teenager, Lamine Yamal, was caught shopping at Walmart, just pushing a cart around Walmart around. And he can't do that in Spain. And I wonder if there's an element to that for some of the superstar players coming over in, the United States, where maybe they are anonymous or relatively anonymous for the first time in many, many years for some of them. Is there a level of relief or enjoyment, you think, for some of the top guys in the world, that they're going to be able to travel, they're going to be able to walk around without the mobs of people that they're accustomed to in Europe?
Absolutely. And I mean, you think about it, New York, massive, massive state, but you're in, the U.S., where soccer is fourth, fifth on the sports radar. But what's unique is, the billions of people that do watch the World Cup worldwide. It's just not as much here in the U.S. So, when you think about them going to Texas and some of these other places, they're fully under the radar. You have to be a soccer nerd to really know who some of these people are if they're out in the wild, if you will. But I think, more and more people know kind of which areas some of these teams are in, so they're more apt to it. But the common folk will have no clue who they are. So, even when Messi first went to Miami, there was a lot of times you could see him, out at the store and everything. And he probably had little moments, but people caught up to him. But he's the number one player in the world. So a different level on that aspect.
My older brother gave me one of those stories. He lives in D.C., and his nephew was playing his nephew from the other side of the family was playing in a soccer tournament, and little Messi, Leo's kid, was playing on the other side, and like Leo was able to just kind of like be on the sideline attending, and people knew who he was, but it wasn't the same as obviously would be in South America, Europe, or whatever. So I think that's an interesting element here, where these guys are the biggest sports celebrities on the planet in almost every country they normally compete in, but because they're competing in this one, they are less recognized. That's fascinating to me.
Yeah, and culturally too, if Messi were to go to any other country, in Europe, would be just swarmed. And I think culturally we're a little bit different in the U.S. Just one with soccer, it really has to be soccer-specific people, because the basketball fan's not going to go run up and try and get a selfie with him. So people kind of get their space a little bit more here.
Pretty cool. Jay Nolly's our guest here on the Sean O'Connell Show. Talking about the actual chances for Team USA. You and I talked about this last time we had you on. The U.S. men's national team begins play against Paraguay tomorrow. And, you played the position in goal, and that is a place where it's been typically a strength for Team USA, but maybe not as obvious a strength this World Cup, because, it's an MLS goaltender. It's not somebody who's a starter over in England like we've had in the past. Is that a problem?
Tim Howard has actually talked about this a lot as well too. One of the most respected goalkeepers, in U.S. history. And he just felt like the situation's a little odd. I've always felt Freese stood as the number one, and I think just recently with Matt Turner getting some more time in kind of these lead-up games, it kind of made it a little confusing. But I think after seeing the Germany game, it was pretty apparent that Freese is going to be the number one. Freese is a very, very good goalkeeper. And uniquely, he went to Harvard as well, too, so smart as well. But he's got the body. He's very good shot stopper. He's playing very good for New York City FC, one of the top goalkeepers in MLS. So I do think he will not be a weak point for us, and I do have a lot of confidence. But I think historically, you're correct. I mean, Tim Howard, Matt, Friedel, all those guys were always European players playing in some of the top leagues. But I do think we have a very strong goalkeeper heading into this. Matt Turner struggled when he went over to Europe to try and get playing time, when he went to Arsenal and then kind of, loaned out to multiple places. He's back and getting his feet under him, but just not quick enough before the World Cup.
The chances to get out of the group seem like, there's a lot of people optimistic about that. But then, that's where it has traditionally been very difficult for the U.S. men's national team. And that's where it becomes, the lack of depth, or maybe the lack of top line talent becomes an issue as you get further into a tournament, which of course features the very best in the world representing their home nations. As we watch Team USA tomorrow at SoFi, and then hopefully beyond, the ceiling, I asked you this last time, but have we adjusted expectations as now we know exactly what the roster is looking like? And I think we have a good sense of what Pochettino wants to do with this team.
Yeah, and I felt better, I think, after the last two kind of lead-up games. Even the Germany game when they scored early, and just kind of seeing the team play through it, and then really dissecting kind of the group a little bit more. It's not an easy group for the U.S. I like that they're starting with Paraguay. Paraguay's very, very talented. If you look just through, goalkeeper, spine in the center back with Gomez, in the middle of the park, Almiron, and then and Sissio might be injured. He was actually carted off on one of the pre-matches leading up. Very, very talented forward. So he might be out. But, in November, we lost 2-1 to Paraguay. I think, if the U.S. can get a win against Paraguay, I think it's going to set them up where, their next one is against Australia. Very tough team as well. I think Turkey's kind of the dark horse in the group. Turkey's a very good team. But right now, I changed. I went back to rose-colored glasses, and I got U.S. Getting out of the group in first place. with Turkey second and Paraguay sneaking in one of those third-place opportunities.
What are we best at, Jay, for the absolute soccer novice? Like, are we faster than a lot of these teams? Are we more physical? Are we better at possessing the ball? Is our passing better? What is the best trait of the U.S. men's national team heading into this World Cup?
Well, I think, through the middle of the park, I think we're very, very strong. And then, when you look at the width too, and I really do think it'll depend on which lineup they go out. But, I think Jedi's going to be kind of that left advance role with Sergio Dest as a right advance role. And then the pivots with McKennie and Adams, very strong, in European presence. And then Pulisic with Timothy Weah on the right side. Again, two very prominent, quick, skillful players that are playing in Europe with Balogun up top. So I think, defensively, there could be some gaps with injuries, age, with Tim Ream as well, too, probably starting on that left side as a captain. And then, we did talk about a keeper, first World Cup, doesn't have that experience. So I think once you look at that midfield from kind of the pivots up, I do think we're pacey. We're creative, we'll flash in the area, we'll hunt down the balls. That's probably our best opportunity. Possession-wise, you can see a team like Germany who's just locked down on basically what their formation is, how they operate. From the top all the way down, Germans are like machines. And I think that's where they can get good, where we see pretty much every time we see the U.S., there's some tweaks, some change. So there hasn't been that consistency until recently, and so I feel a little bit better going to this. But I do like kind of those pivots out wide and up front. I think that's our best group. But, I also think we're going to be giving up some opportunities.
How prepared do I need to be to, when anything goes bad for U.S. men's national team, be like, if Moon Man was here, that would have been better. Diego Luna would have put that one in the back of the net. How prepared do I need to be to have that on deck when I'm watching these games?
I'm prepared for it as well.
Okay.
Only because if we're in a 0-0, 1-1 or down 2-1, and you just need that change, Diego Luna's perfect for it. And he showed it, playing in, 17, 18 matches leading up to the, prior to these last few before the World Cup and the team was announced. He was a difference maker. He causes problems. He works his tail off. He makes other people run more. And so I thought that kind of wild card piece going into games of, he's not going to be killing off a game for you. He's the one that needs to go in and change it. And I do think they missed that opportunity, but, I think Zendejas is playing very, very well. And I think he earned his spot as well, too. I think the João Reina one's really interesting. Roldan in the middle as well is a little interesting with, Tessman and Tessman not making the team as well. So it's super interesting in kind of how it operated, but I think Luna's going to be a miss.
Who's going to win it all?
So I got Spain beating Argentina in the final, the way the brackets are kind of working out for me. Spain getting over France in the semifinals, Argentina beating Brazil in the other side. And I got Spain winning it all, even though I do think France is like my asterisk number 2. I think they have the deepest team, but I'm going to take Spain.
Spain to win it all, according to Jay Nolly. And, of course, we will have him on throughout this World Cup, brought to you by our friends at Beer Bar, evaluating the tournament as it progresses. Jay, enjoy the soccer, man. I know that, it's something that the rest of us in the sports world, we really only jump on the bandwagon every 4 years with this World Cup. But I equate it to the Olympics in that regard, where it's just there's nothing like it, even if you're not a soccer lifer. There's nothing like this for these couple of weeks when the World Cup takes center stage. So I appreciate you giving us some perspective on it.
I appreciate coming on with you, OC, and you guys are awesome. And I think another thing for the common folk is just understanding how many people are viewing the World Cup worldwide. It's such an incredible sporting event, and I remember it all the way since I was a little kid, even Italy with Roberto Baggio popping that penalty kick over the top in the early 90s. So, I mean, you end up creating memories throughout your life that you remember.
Are you going to any games?
I'm not. We have I have a lot of work. I work for a physician tech company, and then we also own a restaurant in West Jordan that my wife helps run. So we're kind of tied down at Jim's Family Restaurant as well.
It's tough because there's just I was looking at all these different ways you could possibly get to these games and the get-in price and the hotels and all the transport. It's like it's one of those things where it's like, man, even if you are super hardcore on soccer, just you have to make an executive decision about whether getting to one of these games is going to be worth it. And obviously, real life, as you just mentioned, gets in the way a lot for people too. So.
Yeah. I am going to be in Dallas for work when they're going on. We're just debating on if the prices are worth it.
Yeah, we have Big 12 Media Days for the Big 12 Football Conference. We have Big 12 Media Days, and there's a game going on like across town the day before. So even all of us were like, well, should we fly down early? But not going to work out with show times and things like that. So I applaud anyone who can get there because, it's not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. I appreciate it. You guys are great, and hopefully we'll talk soon.
All right, thanks, Jay. Jay Nolly, former RSL goaltender, goalkeeper. Gosh, I got to stop doing that. Insider here on the World Cup. We'll be covering with different actual soccer bodies, names, minds throughout. Brought to you by Beer Bar. All right, Evan Cohen, ESPN Radio, joins us next. There's a lot to get to. An epic comeback for the Knicks last night, the Brendan Sorsby situation, et cetera, et cetera. Evan Cohen next on ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. Welcome back to the Sean O'Connell Show. Welcome in Evan Cohen, national radio voice at ESPN and other places. Evan, welcome back to the show. How are you, sir?
Sean, thanks for having me as always. I appreciate it.
All right. Last night's epic comeback by the New York Knicks, was that enough? Or is it now their series, or do you think San Antonio can somehow stage a down 3-1 comeback?
I picked the Spurs in 6 before this series started, and that is just being restated to let the audience know how wrong I have been, because this series is 1,000% over in my mind. It is done with, and the main reason it is done with is because when you have a 7'5" alien and you voluntarily make him into a 6'5" wing, you're asking to lose.
Why has that happened? And why did it happen last night over a 18-minute stretch when you had these big time leads, especially?
Well, it's easy for me to say, sitting from my living room or my bedroom watching this game, that I can't believe they don't play him near the rim, right? But the reality is they don't play him near the rim. And my issue is not that he doesn't have a right to be tired because of all the running or all the physicality, or not that the Knicks are not doing a phenomenal job at defending him and bumping him at every which turn. And when I say bumping him, what I mean is, to visualize it this way, think about an offensive and defensive line drills, right? So if you have an offensive lineman and you're doing a drill, and then the offensive lineman's job, or even in a game, obviously, is to protect the quarterback, right? The defensive lineman is coming at him. The offensive lineman has to do everything in his power to make sure the defensive lineman does not touch the quarterback. That is what I think the Knicks are doing. Wemby, in this case, would be the defensive lineman. The rim would be the quarterback, and the Knicks defense would be the offensive lineman. And you know what you're allowed to do, though, at times in the NBA, or you're allowed to do in the NBA that you can't do in the NFL, is basically you could chop block. And so what I mean by that is it's mind-boggling to me, Sean, that in no way, shape, or form have I seen the San Antonio Spurs on an off-ball situation. So if Steph Castle or Dylan Harper have the ball top of the key, Devin Vassell or Julian Champagnie, either one of them, just to use or De'Aaron Fox, use any of the top 6, they're allowed to go set a screen on Wemby's man, not for Wemby to even get the ball, but just for Wemby to get position on the block and then start your offense. But for whatever reason, they take him and they make him the screener on a high pick and roll, which I think physically takes something out of him, and it doesn't allow for him to get to the rim because he needs help as that defensive lineman trying to get to the quarterback, so to speak. It's infuriating to me watching this that the Spurs just almost borderline choose not to have Wemby in the right spots.
I mean, it makes sense the way you articulated. One thing that I was noticing, I mean, I have watched a lot of what this Spurs run has looked like in the playoffs through the Utah Jazz lens. Like, this is what you're going to have to contend with for the next decade, no matter who you draft in this upcoming draft. And we're going to get there here in just a second. And obviously the Spurs, they're a really talented team. I think they're a very deep team. What I saw last night in that collapse was like, oh my gosh, no matter how talented you are, there's just some things that I guess experience can't replace. This sort of wide-eyed what the hell is happening that kept going on as, a 29-point lead became 20 points, became 15 points, became 11 points, became 4. And they just, from a coach all the way down to the bottom of the roster perspective, it's like all of them were looking around like, hey, what are we supposed to do here? And I was like, man, not only do you need the talent, do you need the right bodies, and that's what the Jazz are going to try to get with this draft and all the other personnel moves they've made, but you also need the experience.
Wait. Before you finish, I'm sorry to interrupt. I don't think you have to worry about the draft to get the right bodies for Wemby. I think you already have them.
Sure.
Because if you think about this logically, let's just pretend Walker Kessler is there. So Walker Kessler, Lauri Markkanen, Jaren Jackson Jr. Just start right there. Don't even get to Ace Bailey, who I know is 6'9", but just start right there. 2 of those 3 guys can easily bump him on defense and play offensive line and stretch him out on defense where he has to guard the perimeter. It is blatantly obvious that the Ainge family and everybody involved with the personnel with the Jazz, Justin Zanuck, whoever else is involved at this point, clearly understood that before this finals, understood how exactly to go up against Wemby, and they already have those guys. They don't have to address more of those guys. I understand you're talking about the rest of the roster, but I think it's important for all the Jazz fans, Sean, listening to you right now, to realize, based on what Karl Anthony Towns has done, don't you have multiple versions of Karl Anthony Towns type players?
I think physically you do. My question for the sequence we saw last night is I don't think there's a personnel problem with the San Antonio Spurs even against this Knicks team. The decision-making process, the shot selection, the inexperience of that youth, it's like, man, no matter how talented you are, you were not prepared to handle this, and it seemed like maybe even your coaching staff was not prepared to handle this.
Well, that's the thing right there.
Because
what you just said.
You haven't been here before. So even as the Jazz try to accumulate talent and stuff, there's going to have to be some patience with you got to let them get to the playoffs first. Then you got to let them make their mistakes in the playoffs and then maybe learn from those mistakes the next year in the playoffs. It felt like to me last night was a perfect illustration of how just having the alien is far from enough in today's NBA.
Absolutely right, and I think you nailed it with the coaching part of it. So I think we all thought, Wemby's there ahead of time. Well, Wemby's inexperience poke its ugly head there in that spot like anyone else would at 22 years old. When you think about really the three best players of this team, one is 22, one's 21, and one's 20, with Wemby, Tassel, and Harper. I don't think any of us pointed out enough. Wait, the inexperience in getting there ahead of time is the coach too. Because he's having his worst series on the biggest stage in the most important moments with a double-digit lead in all 4 games, 3 of which the team blew. So I think we forgot about that part. And then you look up and down that bench, and I was thinking about this today, and I double-checked it to make sure. To my knowledge, and you guys could triple-check this, they do not have an ex-head coach on that bench alongside of him. I think one of him being Mitch Johnson. Now, he's been awesome. I understand that. He has not had a good series, right? I think we all can agree on that. I think one of the smartest hires I've ever seen a coach make in our lifetime in sports was when 31-year-old or whatever he was, Sean McVay, took over the LA Rams, and his first move was to go out and get 80-year-old Wade Phillips and say,
yeah.
I need you here to be my DC, but I need you really here to tell me what the heck to do. And Mitch Johnson, yes, he has Greg Popovich, obviously, but Pop is not sitting there during the games next to him. It's a little different when you have the mentor, let's just use football terms, when you have the mentor Monday through Saturday and that influence Monday through Saturday, they can't really help you in the moment on Sundays. Greg Popovich can help Mitch Johnson 21 of 24 hours a day. But there's a 3-hour span where he cannot help him, literally by NBA law. He can't go and talk to him or anything like that, maybe at halftime. But you get the point. In that moment, to say, hey, you need to tell the team it's about milking clock and not taking shots. So maybe De'Aaron Fox doesn't do that. Or, we're up 29. Let's sneak Wemby some minutes on the bench here. If they cut within 20, we put them back, but not until then. Even if it means you're not happy with Cornette and you want to go to Kelly Olynyk or you want to go to Plumlee or Biyombo, whatever it may be, I think this is what we need to do. They don't have anybody on that bench, to my knowledge, that has been a full-time former head coach, and I think they missed that last night.
This entire playoff run has very much been about Jalen Brunson, and he's been great in this series as well. But are these finals just as much about OG Anunoby, especially last night?
100%, and I got destroyed, and I think at times rightfully so, that I was destroyed by this, where I said, I want to say it was May, it was somewhere early May. We posted the clip at On Sports ESPN today on Twitter, that I said I thought OG Anunoby was the best player on the Knicks. And just to be clear, I am from New York. I live in New York. I am not a Knicks fan, though. I've never really been a Knicks fan for whatever reason. And I thought that OG was the best player on the team. And I got ridiculed because of how many big shots Jalen Brunson hit and how he's led the team and how he's Mr. Clutch. And fans and media members are right to rip me on that. But how I define best player is the ability to do everything at all times and never have to come out of the game, right? Jalen Brunson at times in his career has had to come out of the game for defense. OG Anunoby in the final 15 seconds of the game had an unbelievable block on an ill-advised decision by De'Aaron Fox. He should have milked the clock and not taken the shot, as we know, and then had the greatest tip-in the history of the sport. So, I mean, he is phenomenal. And I think if I had to bet, now he was hurt for the championship run, but I would have to bet his year around Kawhi Leonard helped him in Toronto in 2019. And now I don't know that OG and Kawhi Leonard said a word to each other, but I have to assume just by sitting there and watching him, you learn a ton. Dwayne Wade could walk through the Jazz practice, and if you don't learn from that man, that's on you, right? And Dwayne's not their teammate. I'm a Heat fan in case you haven't figured that part out yet. But like Dwayne, you have to learn from him. OG was around Kawhi, and Sean, that's kind of who he reminds me of now. He's kind of a Kawhi Jr. in some regards.
With less load management.
Well, yeah, but unfortunately he gets hurt, so maybe that's his load management with the hamstring, but it is legit injury. And I don't know that he plants trees.
I would be remiss if I didn't talk to you about the NBA draft coming in less than 2 weeks now, and the Utah Jazz obviously have that number 2 pick. Cam Boozer's agent is doing great work in trying to insert his name into this top 3, top 2 conversation. Obviously, Jazz fans have familiarity with the Boozer name, so I think they glom onto that. I'm not convinced, but how much of it is just that agent doing his job, and how much of it is legitimate that Cam Boozer might at least be in consideration as he came to Salt Lake City to work out?
Well, I thought it was really interesting, and I'm sure you guys talked about it and heard. But when I heard Bill Simmons of The Ringer mention that he kind of could see that happening, and it's based on all of his amazing knowledge around the Angels forever in Boston and his fandom and connections in Boston, that the way that Simmons kind of phrased it sounded like kind of intel. No, not like. Maybe hypothetically, it sounded like intel of this is what I know / this is what I've experienced as a Celtics fan / this is what reminds me of what they would do, etc. But this is where I need your help walking through this. Let's say, so as of right now, if everybody comes back, right, and Walker Kessler is re-signed long-term for this team. So Kessler's the 5, Jaren Jackson Jr. the 4, Markkanen the 3. Is Ace Bailey a 2, or is he coming off the bench? So, they already have. Would you agree, Sean? Help me on this. 4 guys for 3 spots there up front.
Yes.
Okay. Am I missing anybody in that part of it yet?
Well,
or is that the 4 for the 3?
No, that's the 4 for the 3 in terms of potential starting lineup.
Right. So then, let's say they draft Boozer. What does that tell you? Because I feel like I have to go Brian Windhorst and say, what's going on in Utah? Because that would indicate that somebody is out, no? I mean, he's listed, Cameron Boozer is listed at 6'9", 250? That is an old school power forward type position. When you and I were growing up, that would be the size of a true hardcore power forward. So Jaren Jackson Jr. is not going anywhere. Does that indicate that
it'd be Lowry?
That they're not. Okay, so that's okay. But then, is Cameron Boozer playing a 3? Is Jaren Jackson Jr. playing a 3? The wings today, they would have to then guard an oversized 2 guard. Really, is playing most of the wings in the league, right? Because that's where now. Again, I have no problem with them going big. But that means a starting 5 would be, Ace Bailey, Cameron Boozer. I'm just saying 2 through 5 would be Ace Bailey, Cameron Boozer, Jaren Jackson Jr., and
Walker Kessler. Yeah.
Or is it that they would let Kessler go, just let him walk or sign and trade, Jaren Jackson Jr. would be at the 5, Boozer the 4, Markkanen the 3?
I guess
if they take Boozer, you have to go with the windy fingers of what's going on in Utah.
yeah, well, that amount of thought, I think, puts us in a pretzel and makes it easier to just take Darren Peterson.
So is that what? So do you think this is all smokescreen, or do you think there's any chance on June 23rd that Cameron Boozer goes 2 overall to Utah?
Until yesterday, basically, I thought it was a foregone conclusion that it would be either DeBonsa because somehow Washington falls in love with Darren, or it would be Darren. And
okay, what happened yesterday to change your mind?
Well, more conversations with people that are closer to the organization, and some of that conspiracy thought that you just mentioned, where it's like, okay, maybe we should be considering the links, the consistency, the fact that they know the family. And I know that I'm kind of alone on this hill now, but I do think it matters to this Jazz organization that they are viewed as a destination, a friendly destination, a place that players want to stay. And I do think it matters that they get a player in this draft with this pick that at least for the next 5 years is talking like he wants to stay. Whether he does or not will only come down to contract offers and such. But I think that might matter. And I think that Boozer's more likely than Peterson in that regard, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. I don't know. It's an interesting thing. I don't know that anymore in the NBA that players staying has anything to do with money, because it's the pre-agency, right? It's like you get the contract extension, then you ask out after to guarantee yourself the money. So the money's going to be similar in many places. I think it is the winning, the fit, the culture, et cetera. But I think that's an interesting point, that if you draft Cameron Boozer, the assumption is he will never walk into Ryan Smith or anybody and the Angels and say, I want to not be here. But that is the same for DeBanza, is it not?
Yeah, that's something that, a lot of people said, well, AJ would feel that way. He's already got the links here. He decided to come here. His family has moved here. But then he went on Gilbert Arenas' podcast and he was like, no, Boston is my home. I live in Utah, but Boston is home for me. And, of course, everyone dissected that and was just like, wait, he doesn't view Utah as home, even though all of his people are here now. Boston is his home. So, I mean, we're 2 weeks away from a draft. We're really getting into the nitpicky stuff now.
All right, so let me give you a hypothetical, okay? I'm going to give you 2 choices. The Jazz could either give up extra picks and trade up to 1, or get extra picks and trade down to 4. Which one would you rather them do?
I would rather them move up to 1. You've asked this fan base for too long to say, you know what, it's coming. Some good things are coming. We're building for the future. Good things are coming. You and I just walked through what the potential starting lineup could be. There are a lot of players that people believe in that could actually put together something interesting here. If then you say, all right, we're going to get still a good player in like a Wilson or whatever, we're still going to get a good player, but we're passing over on these franchise changers, these guys that you already know and have already, developed an expectation for. And maybe 2 years from now, there's another one, or 3 years from now, there's somebody else we can add to this mix. I don't think it makes sense for where the franchise is at right now.
But if Boozer potentially is their guy that they want, and they're of the belief that they could get him, let's say, at 3 or at 4, that would fall in line exactly with what Danny Ainge did with Jason Tatum.
It's a very Ainge thing, yeah. So I could see it, but if you're asking me what I would rather see them do, my rather is go get A.J. DeBonsa and just go all in on what this vision for your ownership was when he brought him to Utah to play high school basketball,
And so if they get him, who goes? Because it seems like there's too much, again, up front in that scenario.
That's also a good question. And I don't have an answer for it.
The logical one, I guess.
We are up against the end of our show, so I got to let you go. But I cannot tell you how much I appreciate your time and your thoughtful conversation. Let's do it again soon.
Always great talking. Thanks for having me.
Great stuff from Evan Cohen. He's really, really good at the job. You can find him on Sportsmanlike Early Mornings on ESPN Radio. All right, we'll close it out next on the Sean O'Connell Show, ESPN 700, 92.1 FM. All right, wrapping it up here on the Sean O'Connell Show. PGA Tour leaderboard update brought to you by Uinta Golf. Father's Day gifts are on sale right now. Get to Uinta Golf all up and down the Wasatch Front. Trade your current clubs. Get 2 times the bonus trade-in value towards any new Quantum, X-Forged, Apex, or Riva clubs. Uinta Golf by Worldwide Golf. Get there. Canadian Open, James, real quick.
Sahith Theegala is your leader at 6 under. Tony Finau in a group tied for second at 5 under, one shot off the lead. Shout out to Tony. A couple of Canadians, Adam Svensson, Taylor Pendrith, in a group tied for 7th, 2 shots off the lead at 4 under. And Max McGreevy in that group as well. And that's your PGA Tour leaderboard update brought to you by Uinta Golf.
We are giving away tickets here on the Sean O'Connell Show. In this moment, Hollywood Undead coming to the Complex, 877-353-0700. The all-time NBA leader in finals games, 30-point games in the NBA Finals. The all-time NBA career leader in 30-point games in the NBA Finals, 877-353-0700 if you know that answer. Little crosstalk to close it out, brought to you by Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. $2,500 off 10 windows or more. Lifetime warranty on those windows. Spence Checketts at the Drive are next. Hi, Spence.
Busy day, randomly. A lot going on.
Lots going on.
Yes.
Incredible game last night. Good thing you didn't spend that money on those tickets to get to the Garden, Spence.
Well, I was hoping you'd Venmo me like $25K. I'm rarely speechless. A really cool moment, though. And as a father, you'll appreciate this. So Connor, my son, is living back east. He and Ben went to Game 3, my brother. And he FaceTimes me with about 5 or 6 minutes left after San Antonio takes like a 15 to 17-point lead again. And he was just leaving the bar in the Upper West Side that he had decided to go to a Nick watch party.
Okay.
And he's on a scooter to go back to his car to drive to Connecticut. And I'm watching him. I'm watching the game as I'm FaceTiming. I'm like, buddy, you might need to turn around. Like, I said, don't do it yet because there's so many things that have to fall into place. And then they cut it to like 5 with 3 minutes left. I'm like, get back into that bar.
Yeah.
Which he did, turned around and got back in time to watch the final like 90 seconds. So I watched the whole thing with him, which was cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a cool moment. But I still, there's so many things to take away from what happened last night. Like, do we even remember that Josh Hart nearly was accused of basically tanking the other way? Like, he missed a layup and dunk.
A fast break layup.
To take the lead and then made a really silly foul. And Wembanyama missed 2 free throws. And De'Aaron Fox, man, you're ahead. I honestly wonder if he thought the game was tied. I have the last thing to do with 6 seconds left when you have the ball is to go try to take a contested layup against a really good defensive player in OG Anunoby. And OG Anunoby is now a golden god in Midtown Manhattan.
Yeah, as he should be. That hustle play, I mean, the timely three-pointers from the corner, like he's been incredible in this series. He was absolutely crucial for New York last night. And Josh Hart after the game, he was like, thank you, OG, for bailing me out because I would have lived with a lifetime of regret for missing that shot and for the foul. So, yeah, it was absolutely epic. There are very few games that you watch on television and probably even that you attend in person that you will remember for the rest of your life.
Right.
That's one.
Yeah.
Like those final 6.5 minutes or so when New York really started to turn it on and really started to chip away at that lead. I'll remember that until I'm dead.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that was absolutely epic and incredible. And the collapse by a hyper talented but obviously inexperienced Spurs team. I mean, they're so good. And yet teams that are that good are still capable of insane self-inflicted wounds.
Yeah.
Bad coaching, terrible shot selection. They're in the NBA Finals ahead of schedule.
Yeah.
And they are still capable of just undermining themselves.
Yeah, and you know, I'm thinking about this morning because I was in that build. There are so many iconic shots that have taken place in Madison Square Garden in Knick games. It's just usually the other team. And I've been in that building for Michael Jordan daggers, for Reggie Miller daggers. Even last year, 2 years ago, it was last year, Tyrese Halliburton's 3 that bounced 25 feet up into the air and then went in. Aaron Nesmith suddenly turning into Ray Allen, 1990. Like, there are some epic Knick shots in MSG. LJ's 4-point play, Ewing's tip-in against the Pacers to finally go to the finals. But most of the epic shots have come from the opposition. And OG Anunoby's tip-in is the way we should say that. That was unintentional. Don't text in. That instantly is on the short list of the most impressive performances in snapshot moments. I'm going to have to be very diligent about this throughout the course of the show. Top 2 or 3 Knick moments of all time in that building. It's right up there now.
Yeah, really, really cool to watch. Cool to dissect. Spence will be doing it all day on his show. You've got World Cup action to watch today. USA Paraguay is tomorrow. Mexico and South Africa are already underway. So the biggest sporting event on the planet is on American soil for the next several weeks, and we'll be on top of all of it. Have a great show.
Thanks, man.
I imagine it's going to be a fun one for you.
No, I'm still buzzing. That was really cool because, as you referenced, it's rare that you see something historic, but it's even more rare that it's your team, right? And so that it was a fun night for me for sure.
Stay tuned for The Drive. Thanks for listening to the Sean O'Connell Show. We'll do it again tomorrow on ESPN